Afraid. When someone is afraid, they feel fear.
The woman was afraid of what she saw.
Agree. To agree is to say yes, or to think the same way.
The food is very good in that restaurant. I agree with you.
Angry. When someone is angry, they may want to speak loudly or fight.
She didn't do her homework, so her father is angry.
Arrive. To arrive is to get to or reach some place.
The bus always arrives at the corner of my street at 4.
Attack. To attack is to try to fight or to hurt.
The man with the sword attacked the other man first.
Bottom. The bottom is the lowest part.
The bottom of my shoe has a hole in it.
Clever. When someone is clever, they can solve a hard puzzle or problem.
The clever boy thought of a good idea.
Cruel. When someone is cruel, they do bad things to hurt others.
The cruel man yelled at his sister.
Finally. If something happens finally, it happens after a long time or at the end.
He finally crossed the finish line after 5 hours of running.
Hide. To hide is to try not to let others see you.
The other children will hide while you count to 100.
Hunt. To hunt is to look for or search for an animal to kill.
Long ago, people hunted with bows and arrows.
Lot. A lot means a large number or amount of people, animals, things, etc.
There are a lot of apples in the basket.
Middle. The middle of something is the center or halfway point.
The Canadian flag has a maple leaf in the middle of it.
Moment. A moment is a second or a very short time.
I was only a few moments late for the meeting.
Pleased. When someone is pleased, they are happy.
She was pleased with the phone call she received.
Promise. To promise is to say you will do something for sure.
He promised to return my key by tomorrow.
Reply. To reply is to give an answer or say back to someone.
She asked him what time his meeting was. He replied at 3.
Safe. When a person is safe, they are not in danger.
Put on your seatbelt in the car to be safe.
Trick. A trick is something you do to fool another person.
His card trick really surprised us.
Well. You use well to say that something was done in a good way.
The couple can dance quite well. The Lion and the Rabbit. A cruel lion lived in the forest. Every day he killed and ate a lot of animals. The other animals were afraid the lion would kill them all. The animals told the lion, "Let's make a deal. If you promise to eat only one animal each day, then one of us will come to you every day. Then you don't have to hunt and kill us." The plan sounded well thought out to the lion, so he agreed. But he also said, "If you don't come every day, I promise to kill all of you the next day." Each day after that, one animal went to the lion so that the lion could eat it. Then all the other animals were safe. Finally, it was the rabbit's turn to go to the lion. The rabbit went very slowly that day, So the lion was angry when the rabbit finally arrived. The lion angrily asked the rabbit, "Why are you late?" "I was hiding from another lion in the forest. That lion said he was the king, so I was afraid." The lion told the rabbit, "I am the only king here. Take me to that other lion and I will kill him." The rabbit replied, "I will be happy to show you where he lives." The rabbit led the lion to an old well in the middle of the forest. The well was very deep with water at the bottom. The rabbit told the lion, "Look in there. The lion lives at the bottom." When the lion looked in the well, he could see his own face in the water. He thought that was the other lion. Without waiting another moment, the lion jumped into the well to attack the other lion. He never came out. All of the other animals in the forest were very pleased with the rabbit's clever trick.
Aware. If you are aware of something, you know about it.
I was not aware of the ringing phone.
Badly. Badly means in a severe or harmful way.
He hurt his arm badly playing with friends.
Belong. If something belongs to you, you own it.
The blue suit belongs to Paul.
Continue. To continue something is to keep doing it.
She stood under her umbrella as the rain continued to fall.
Error. An error is something you do wrong.
I made an error on my report, so my boss was angry.
Experience. An experience is something you have seen or done.
Rock climbing was a fun experience.
Field. A field is a big area of land.
The field of flowers looks so pretty.
Hurt. To hurt is to do something that makes you feel pain.
She hurt her leg falling down the stairs.
Judgment. Judgment is the ability to form opinions or decisions.
It's good judgment to recycle your aluminum cans.
Likely. If something likely happens, it will probably happen.
I will likely stay at home and watch TV tonight.
Normal. If something is normal, it is not strange nor surprising to you.
It is normal for me to bathe every night.
Rare. If something is rare, you do not see it very often.
It is rare for him to miss his flight.
Relax. To relax is to rest.
The frog relaxed in the warm sun.
Request. To request something is to ask for it.
The little girl requested a special gift from Santa Claus.
Reside. To reside means to live somewhere permanently or for a long time.
My brother and his family reside in a lovely house on the beach.
Result. A result is something that happens because of something else.
As a result of all the rain, the man had to climb on the roof.
Roll. To roll is to move by turning over and over.
You must roll the ball into the pins when you bowl.
Since. Since is used to talk about a past event still happening now.
Since 1992, he has been driving that car.
Visible. If something is visible, it can be seen.
The moon and stars were visible in the night sky.
Wild. If something is wild, it is found in nature.
You should be careful around a fox because it is a wild animal. The Jackal and the Sunchild. A jackal is a wild dog with a big black back. It resides in the desert. But how did the jackal get his black back? This was how it happened. One day, the jackal saw a girl. She was sitting upon a rock. She was not a normal child. She was a rare and beautiful sun child. She was bright and warm like the sun. The child saw the jackal and smiled. She said, "Jackal, I have been relaxing on this rock for too long. I must get home soon. But I am slow and you are fast. You will likely get me home more quickly." Then she requested, "Will you carry me home? If you do, I'll give you a gift. This necklace belongs to me, but I will give it to you." The wild jackal agreed. So the sun child sat on the dog's back. They started to walk, but soon the jackal felt ill. The sun child was very hot on his back. The heat was hurting his back very badly. "I made a terrible error in judgment," he thought. He shouldn't have agreed to carry her, so he asked her to get off. But she did not. The jackal's back continued to get hotter and harder. He had to get away from the sun child, so he made a plan. First, he ran as fast as he could. He hoped the sun child would fall off, but she did not. So when the sun child was looking at the sky, not aware of the jackal's next plan, he jumped into a field of flowers. As a result, the child rolled off his back. The jackal ran away. But the sun child left a mark on the jackal's back, a visible black mark. Ever since his experience with the sun child, the jackal has had a black back.
Advantage. An advantage is something that helps you.
Being tall is an advantage to a basketball player.
Cause. To cause is to make something happen.
The cold weather caused her to get sick.
Choice. A choice is the act or possibility of picking something.
I had my choice of 5 doors to open.
Community. A community is a group of people who live together.
The kids from my community usually play together.
Dead. To be dead is to not be alive.
A dead person is usually buried in the ground.
Distance. The distance between two things is how far it is between them.
The distance between the Earth and the Moon is 384,400 kilometers.
Escape. To escape is to run away from something bad.
The butterfly could not escape from the cage.
Face. If you face a problem, you deal with it.
My sister and I have to find a better way to face our differences.
Follow. To follow means to go behind someone and go where they go.
The little boy followed his mother home.
Fright. Fright is the feeling of being scared.
She was filled with fright.
Ghost. A ghost is the spirit of a dead person.
Many people are afraid of ghosts.
Individual. An individual is one person.
Only one individual could win the bicycle race.
Pet. A pet is an animal that lives with people.
Out of all my pets, the dog is my favorite.
Reach. To reach means to arrive at a place.
I was happy to finally reach my destination.
Return. To return is to go back to a place.
I was happy to return home to my mom after school.
Survive. To survive is to stay alive.
My dog survived her fall into the water.
Upset. To be upset is to be unhappy about something.
She was upset because she broke her toy.
Voice. A voice is the sound a person makes when they talk or sing.
He used a microphone so everyone could hear his voice.
Weather. The weather is the condition of the air. Hot, rainy, windy, etc.
The weather can be sunny, rainy, or cold.
Wise. To be wise is to use experience and intelligence to make good choices.
Many people believe that owls are very wise animals.
The friendly ghost. A nice woman lived by a large river. She loved children. She wanted to help them in any way. She loved her community, and everyone in the community loved her. She lived a very long time and became very wise. When she died, she became a ghost. She was dead, but every night she returned to her community. She wanted to help children and not to cause them fright, but she had a scary voice. Children were afraid of her, but the ghost was a good one. She only scared them to help them. One night, some children and a dog were playing by the river. They were having fun with their pet, but they were far from home. Then the weather became bad. It rained and rained. The river was rising. It was very dark. The children knew they were lost. They needed to go north, but they didn't know which direction it was. When the moon came out, they saw a ghost by the river. The ghost said, "Go away!" The children felt great fright. They knew it was a ghost. Then the ghost moved closer. She yelled again, "Go away!" The children became very upset. Some of them began to cry. The children knew they had a choice. They could escape, or they could stay and face this scary individual in the dark. The children ran a long distance away. The ghost followed them all the way. Finally, the children reached home. The ghost was very happy. Soon the river rose higher and higher. It was very dangerous. The ghost had helped the children survive. She had saved them from the rising water. She also used her power to lead them home. Sometimes, meeting a ghost has advantages. A ghost can save your life. Anymore. Anymore means any longer.
Her old pants don't fit her anymore.
Asleep. When a person is asleep, they are not awake.
The baby has been asleep for hours.
Berry. A berry is a small round fruit that grows on certain plants and trees.
The berry looked delicious.
Collect. To collect things is to group them together all in one place.
I collected shells when I was younger.
Compete. To compete is to try to be better than someone.
He will compete with very good athletes.
Conversation. A conversation is a talk between people.
There were two conversations going on at once.
Creature. A creature is any living thing.
The creature we saw today was either a dolphin or a porpoise.
Decision. A decision is a choice.
He made the wrong decision.
Either. Either is used with or to say there are two or more possibilities.
You can choose to be either white or black when you play chess.
Forest. A forest is a place with lots of trees and animals.
I love to go walking in the forest.
Ground. The ground is the top part of the earth that we walk on.
The ground under our feet was dry and brown.
Introduce. To introduce someone or something is to say who they are.
I introduced myself to our newest co-worker today.
Marry. To marry is to legally become husband and wife.
Rose and Henry were married, and they lived happily.
Prepare. To prepare is to get ready for something.
I prepared my speech to the class.
Sail. To sail is to move a boat on the water.
I love to sail my boat on the lake.
Serious. When something is serious, it is bad or unsafe.
The accident was very serious.
Spend. To spend is to use time doing something or being somewhere.
I like to spend my free time fishing.
Strange. When something is strange, it is not normal.
Joe had a strange look on his face after he saw what happened.
Truth. The truth is a fact or something that is right.
He was telling the truth about seeing a large green snake.
Wake. To wake is to not be sleeping anymore.
He is always full of energy when he wakes in the morning. Princess Rose and the Creature. There was once a beautiful princess named Rose. Her mother, the queen, however, was not as beautiful as the princess. The queen felt bad that she was not the most beautiful woman in the kingdom anymore. She was tired of competing with her daughter. She made a decision. She prepared a drink for the princess. After the princess drank it, she fell asleep. Then the queen took the princess to the forest. She left the princess there. It was a very serious thing to do. Either she will be killed by animals or she will get lost in the forest, the queen thought. The princess had a dream. She dreamed about a man with brown hair and brown eyes. It was the man she would wed. The princess woke up. She saw a strange creature on the ground. It looked like a man, but he was hairy and green. He had horns on his head and a pig's nose. The creature said, "Did I scare you? I hope not. Let me introduce myself. I am Henry." "I am not scared. To tell you the truth, I think you are cute," said Rose. Rose and Henry spent the day together. They collected berries, caught fish, and had lunch. They had a very good day filled with nice conversations. "Rose, I have to go home," said Henry. "My ship will sail home soon. I can't leave you here in the forest alone. Will you come with me?" Rose was very happy. She gave Henry a kiss right on his pig nose. As soon as she kissed Henry, he began to change. His pig nose turned into a man's nose. His horns and green hair went away. Standing in front of her was the man Rose had dreamt about. Rose and Henry were married, and they lived happily.
Blood. Blood is the red liquid in your body.
I cut my finger and got blood on my shirt.
Burn. To burn something is to set it on fire.
I burned some wood in the campfire.
Cell. A cell is a small room where a person is locked in.
The jail cell was very small.
Contain. To contain something is to have it inside.
The mailbox contained a letter.
Correct. To be correct is to be right.
All of my answers on the test were correct.
Crop. A crop is food that a farmer grows.
Wheat is a crop that is made into bread.
Demand. To demand something is to say strongly that you want it.
The workers demanded to be paid more money.
Equal. To be equal is to be the same.
Both students are equal in age.
Feed. To feed is to give food.
Mother feeds my baby brother every day.
Hole. A hole is an opening in something.
The man was going to jump into the hole in the ice.
Increase. To increase something is to make it larger or more.
They've increased the price of gas by 15 cents.
Lord. Long ago, a lord was a man in charge of a town.
The lord of the town was not kind.
Owe. To owe is to have to pay or give back something received from another.
I owed him $20, so I paid him back.
Position. A position is the way something is placed.
How can you sit in that position?
Raise. To raise something is to lift it up.
We had to work together to raise the last piece.
Responsible. If a person is responsible, they do the right things.
I tried to be responsible and save money.
Sight. A sight is something interesting to see.
I saw the pyramids of Egypt. What a sight!
Spot. A spot is a place where something happens.
The kitchen is a good spot to eat meals.
Structure. A structure is a building.
They just built a beautiful new structure downtown.
Whole. Whole means all of something.
I ate the whole pie. We don't have any more. The Farmer and the Cats. Arthur was a responsible farmer, and Maria was a nice lady. But they were poor. They owed the town lord money for their land. One summer, their farm burned. One structure caught fire, and most of the animals ran away. Only the cats stayed. So Arthur and Maria had to bring in their crops without an animal's help. On a fall day, the Lord demanded his money. Arthur asked if the Lord could wait until he brought in his crops. The Lord was angry. He raised his hands high and yelled, "Pay me by the end of the week. If you don't, I will increase the money you have to pay. I might put you in a jail cell." So Arthur and Maria worked until there was blood on their hands. They finished 4 lines of corn and went to bed. But the next morning, 8 lines were finished. "Maria, didn't we stop in this spot here?" Arthur asked. "Yes, that is correct, and the tools were in a different position too," Maria said. They were surprised and happy. That day, they worked hard and finished 5 lines. But in the morning, 10 lines were done. Each day, they did a lot of work. Each night, someone else did an equal amount of work. In a week, the whole field was finished. "Tomorrow I will sell the crops and pay the Lord," Arthur said. But that morning, the crops were gone. A bag was in the middle of the field. It contained money. "Maria, let's see who has helped us work." Through a hole in the wall, they saw a funny sight. The cats were dancing in the field and eating corn. Now Arthur knew what had happened. The cats had worked at night. After that, Arthur was very nice to his cats and fed them lots of corn.
Argue. To argue is to angrily speak to someone because you do not agree.
We argued about where to go for dinner.
Communicate. To communicate is to give information by talking, writing, etc.
I communicated with Paul about his new ideas.
Crowd. A crowd is a large group of people.
A large crowd had gathered on the street to see the accident.
Depend. To depend on someone or something is to need them.
Children depend on their parents for many things.
Dish. A dish is a plate.
She put a clean white dish on the table.
Empty. If something is empty, it does not have anything in it.
My gas tank was almost empty, so I couldn't drive my car very long.
Exact. If something is exact, it is just the right amount.
Please use the exact amount of sugar for the cake.
Fresh. If something is fresh, it is new.
I just bought these oranges. They are very fresh.
Gather. To gather is to collect several things, usually from different places.
Sam gathered some flowers for his mother.
Indicate. To indicate means to show, point, or make something clear.
He pointed to his eyes to indicate where he had hurt himself.
Item. An item is a thing that you buy or sell.
I have many items for school in my bag.
Offer. To offer is to present someone with something.
He offered me the keys to his car.
Price. The price of something is how much it costs.
What is the price of this item?
Product. A product is something that is made.
My sister has many beauty products in her room.
Property. Property is something that someone owns.
The house is now my property.
Purchase. To purchase something is to buy it.
I recently purchased a new car.
Recommend. To recommend something is to say that someone should do it.
My doctor recommended that I get some exercise.
Select. To select something is to choose it.
I hope that I selected the right answers on the test.
Tool. A tool is something that helps you do a task.
We used a tool to fix the window.
Treat. To treat is to act in a certain way toward someone.
The cats treated the mouse very nicely.
The Little Red Chicken. A little red chicken had a store in a small town. She sold many different items to people in the town. The people loved her products. One day, a cat came to her property. He saw the sign that indicated where the chicken store was located. He wanted to purchase bread, but the chicken store was almost empty. She had only a bag of wheat. "You can use the wheat to make bread," the chicken said. "No, I don't want to work," the cat said. "I just want to buy bread." The cat became angry and left the store. Later, the little red chicken saw the cat in a crowd. "I will help you make the bread," she said. But the cat treated her badly. He did not even communicate with her. He did not want to do any work, so the chicken decided to make the bread. She selected the exact amount of wheat to make fresh bread. She used a stone to pound the wheat to get it ready. Soon, her bread was ready. The cat came and saw the bread on a dish. "Give me some of your bread," he said. "No," said the little red chicken. "You did not help me make the bread, so you shall not have any to eat." The cat argued with the chicken. He tried to offer a price for it, but the little red chicken did not want to sell her bread. "Don't depend on others to do work for you," said the little red chicken. "Then how will I get bread?" the cat asked. "I recommend doing some work," said the little red chicken. "Use a tool to plant your own wheat. When it grows big, you can gather it and make your own bread. You need to learn to do work for what you want." Advertise. To advertise is to tell people about something on TV, radio, etc.
They used a rabbit to help them advertise their product.
Assign. To assign something to someone is to tell them to do it.
I assigned the worker an important task.
Audience. An audience is a group of people who watch something together.
There was a large audience at the game.
Breakfast. Breakfast is the first meal of the day.
I eat breakfast at 8 every morning.
Competition. A competition is a contest to see who is the best at something.
He won the running competition over the weekend.
Cool. If the weather is cool, it is a little bit cold.
The weather is cool in the fall.
Gain. If you gain something, you get more of it.
I gained some weight over the summer.
Importance. Importance means the quality or condition of being needed or valued.
VIPs are people of great importance.
Knowledge. Knowledge is information that you have about something.
A music teacher should have good knowledge of music.
Major. If something is major, it is big or important.
I have a major problem. My boss wants me to redo my project.
Mean. Mean describes someone who is unkind or cruel.
My coworker is a very mean person. He gets angry very quickly.
Prefer. If you prefer something, you want it more than something else.
I prefer to take the path that will lead me to a bright future.
President. A president is the leader of a country.
The president of our country made an important announcement.
Progress. Progress is the act of getting closer to doing or finishing something.
Our company made financial progress this year.
Respect. Respect is a good opinion of someone because they are good.
I have great respect for firemen.
Rich. If you are rich, you have a lot of money.
He's rich. He can buy anything he wants.
Skill. A skill is the knowledge and ability that allows you to do something well.
A snowboarder must have the right skills to do well.
Somehow. Somehow means in a way or by some means which is not known.
He somehow had to find a way to reach the life preserver.
Strength. Strength is the physical power that you have.
Exercising will increase your strength and give you more power.
Vote. To vote is to officially choose between two or more things.
I voted for Billy to be our class president. How the world got light. The president of Darkland was a pig, a very bad pig. He was a pig of major importance. He was rich and he had a lot of strength. But he was mean to all the animals in Darkland. He kept all of the world's light in a bag. He preferred to keep the world cool and dark. He wanted to stop the progress of the city. The animals couldn't work in the dark. He didn't have any respect for them. Light is too good for them, he said. Only I should have light. But the animals needed light, so they decided to hold a competition. They wanted to find the smartest animal in Darkland. That animal had to steal light from the president. They advertised the competition everywhere. All the animals came. The animals all showed off their skills. The audience watched and then voted for the animal with the most knowledge. The winner was a tall bird named Raven. They assigned him the job of getting light. The next morning, Raven ate breakfast and then left his home. How will I gain light from the president? Thought Raven. He needed to trick the president somehow. Then Raven had an idea. Raven could make his voice sound like anything. Raven walked up to the president's door. He made the sound of a crying baby. He cried very loudly. Soon the president opened the door. "Be quiet," the president yelled. Right then, Raven quickly made his move. He flew by the pig and found the soft bag. He took it outside. The sun was inside the bag. Raven flew high and put the sun in the sky. The president was very mad. Raven tricked him. But the other animals were very happy. At last they had light, all because of Raven's smart thinking.
Bring. To bring means to take someone or something to a person or place.
Oscar will bring in all the boxes.
Castle. A castle is a building with strong walls where royalty usually lives.
The castle was built many years ago.
Command. To command someone is to tell them to do something.
The general commanded his army to attack.
Counsel. To counsel someone is to listen and give advice about a problem.
The teacher counseled the girl about her troubles.
Ensure. To ensure is to make certain that something happens.
Eating good food ensures that we stay healthy.
Explosion. An explosion is a violent burst, usually with a loud sound.
A nuclear explosion can cause great damage.
Jewelry. Jewelry is something that people wear, like earrings or necklaces.
The woman looked beautiful with her nice dress and jewelry.
Land. To land means to come to the ground, usually from a ship or aircraft.
The parachutist landed safely on the ground.
Meteor. A meteor is a rock from outer space that falls to Earth.
We saw a meteor in the sky last night.
Monster. A monster is any imaginary frightening creature that looks strange.
The monster scared everyone in the village.
Northern. If something is northern, it is in the direction of north.
It is much colder in northern countries than it is here.
Remote. If something is remote, it is very far away and difficult to get to.
It took many days to get to the remote island.
Southern. If something is southern, it is in the direction of south.
Daegu is located in the southern part of the Korean peninsula.
Statue. A statue is an image of a person or animal made of stone or metal.
I saw a beautiful statue of a lion today.
Steam. Steam is water that has become hot and has turned into a misty gas.
We could see the steam rise from the boiling water.
Submit. To submit to someone is to agree to do what they tell you to do.
She submitted to her mother's wishes and did her homework.
Temple. A temple is a building that is used for religious purposes.
The people visited the temple to pray.
Upper. Upper means higher in position or place.
A home's attic is at the upper part of the structure.
Weed. A weed is a plant, especially one that is not useful or wanted.
The yard of the house was full of ugly weeds.
Wing. A wing is the part of an animal that lets it fly.
The bird used its wings to fly across the water.
The dragon. An evil dragon lived in a castle in the remote southern mountains. One day the monster landed in a town. The dragon commanded the people, "Give me food now, or I will eat you." The dragon lifted its wings so that its lungs could be completely filled with hot steam, and breathed it upon the people. A man turned into a stone statue. The people submitted and brought food. The dragon ate all of it and left. The people sent a boy to ask for help from a wise old man. He resided in a temple. The boy told the old man about the dragon. Then the old man counseled the boy. A meteor will fall in the northern sky. It will make a huge explosion. Find the meteor and bring it to me. I will use it to make a sword for you. The boy did as the old man said. Soon, the sword was ready. Use this to kill the dragon, but be careful. You must cover yourself with weeds that smell bad. That will ensure that he does not smell you, the man said. The boy traveled for many days to find the castle. He went to the upper level and opened a door. He could see the dragon's tail. It was sleeping, so the boy killed it. Then he took the dragon's gold and jewelry and returned to his town. The people were happy. Abroad. If someone goes or travels abroad, they go to another country.
My brother wants to go abroad next year.
Anger. To anger someone is to make them mad.
It angers me when people are rude.
Bride. A bride is a woman who is getting married or has just gotten married.
The bride looked beautiful in her wedding dress.
Brief. If something is brief, it only lasts for a short time.
The meeting this afternoon was very brief.
Chase. To chase someone or something is to follow them in order to catch them.
I was chased by an angry native.
Disappoint. To disappoint is to make one feel sad or unsatisfied.
I do not want to disappoint my family, so I try to do well at school.
Dive. To dive is to jump into water.
I will dive into the lake once we get there.
Exchange. To exchange means to give something for another thing in return.
I exchanged my foreign money for American dollars.
Favor. A favor is something you do for someone to help them.
Can you do me a favor and turn off the lights?
Fee. A fee is an amount of money that a person or company asks for a service.
I had to pay an hourly fee to speak with my lawyer.
Forever. If something lasts forever, it means it lasts for all time.
The young couple promised that they would love each other forever.
Guy. A guy is an informal way to call a man.
The guy at the flower shop was really helpful today.
Lovely. If people or things are lovely, they are good-looking or beautiful.
The trees look lovely in the fall.
Mood. A mood is the way someone is feeling.
I am in a good mood because I did well on my math test.
Palace. A palace is a very large building. It is often the home of a royal family.
The king and queen live in a beautiful palace.
Permit. To permit something is to let someone do it.
I was sick, so my mother permitted me to stay home from school.
Protest. To protest something is to argue about it with someone.
The people protested the decision of the president.
Sculpture. A sculpture is a piece of art that is made from wood, clay, or stone.
We saw an old sculpture of Buddha at the museum.
Tribe. A tribe is a group of people who live in the same culture.
There's a small tribe of people who live in the mountains of Spain.
Youth. Youth is a time in people's lives when they are young.
My mother wanted to be a nurse in her youth.
The Frog Prince. A lovely princess sat by the pool and played with a sculpture of a bear. Suddenly, she dropped it, and it rolled away. She chased it, but it fell into the water. She began to cry. A large, ugly frog asked, "Why are you crying?" After the princess told him, the frog said, "I can get the sculpture. What will you give me in exchange for the favor?" "I can pay you a fee in gold," she said. But the frog protested, "I want to sleep in your bed, and you must kiss me in the morning." "He'd die without water, so I don't have to keep my promise," she thought. The frog dove for a brief moment and got the sculpture. Then the princess ran away with it. Later, the frog went to the palace. The king told her to keep her promise. This put the princess in a bad mood. She permitted the frog to sleep on her pillow. In the morning, she gave him a kiss. Suddenly, he turned into a guy. He said, "I'm from a kingdom abroad. In my youth, I angered a tribe of cruel witches, who turned me into a frog." The princess asked him, "Can I be your bride and stay with you forever?" But the prince said, "No, you disappointed me. You didn't keep your promise." Admire. To admire someone is to like them for what they do.
I admire my brother for his hard work.
Aid. To aid someone is to help them when they need something.
The doctor aided the boy after his accident.
Attempt. To attempt something is to try to do that thing.
I am attempting to learn English.
Authority. Authority is the power that someone has because of their position.
The policeman has authority on the streets.
Capital. A capital is an important city where a country's leaders live and work.
We will visit the capital to learn about our government.
Cooperate. To cooperate is to work together to do something.
The students cooperated to clean up the classroom.
Defend. To defend someone or something is to protect them from attack.
The soldiers defended the town from the invaders.
Destruction. Destruction is damage to something so bad that it can't be fixed.
After the big fire, there was much destruction in the city.
Disorder. Disorder is a lack of order, or a complete mess.
The teacher's desk had many papers in disorder.
Division. A division is the act of making smaller groups out of a larger one.
The chart had 6 divisions which all had different colors.
Enable. To enable a person is to make it possible for them to do something.
Having the key enabled us to open the door.
Frustrate. To frustrate is to prevent someone from fulfilling their desire.
The machine frustrated me because I could not fix it.
Govern. To govern is to control the public business of a country, state, or city.
The United States is governed from the White House.
Plenty. To have plenty of something is to have more than you need.
The school had plenty of books for the students to read.
Relieve. To relieve someone is to make them feel less pain.
The medicine relieved the sick boy.
Reputation. Reputation is the opinion that people have about someone.
The doctor had a reputation for helping people.
Royal. Royal describes something that belongs to a king or queen.
The king sat upon the royal throne.
Slave. A slave is a person who is not free and must work for someone else.
The slave worked very hard all day long.
Struggle. To struggle is to fight against someone or something.
The kids struggled with each other for the toy.
Stupid. When someone is stupid, they lack intelligence.
He said something stupid that made everyone angry at him. The Tale of Bartelby O'Boyle. Long ago, there was a clever man by the name of Bartelby O'Boyle. As a boy, he was kept as a slave by the royal family. He saw other children play, but he always had to work. This frustrated him very much, but he was not stupid, and he wanted to change things. Then one day there was a struggle for authority in the kingdom. There was a division of the people, and one group fought against another group to see which would govern the kingdom. There was disorder in the kingdom. Bartelby ran away. He saw much fighting and destruction. Many people had nothing to eat. Bartelby decided to aid them. He would help them get food. But how? Bartelby went to the capital to find an answer. There, he met a man named Gilliam. A group of men attempted to hurt Gilliam. Bartelby defended him. Then he gave Gilliam some food to relieve his hunger. After that, the two became friends. They took food from the rich and gave it to the poor. Soon, other people cooperated with them. Working together enabled them to take more food. But they only took food from people who had plenty, and they always gave it to those who had none. Because of this, Bartelby gained a reputation across the kingdom. Even today, many people admire him for helping the poor.
Chamber. A chamber is an old word for a bedroom.
The girl was tired. She went to her chamber for a nap.
Deny. To deny something is to say it is not true.
The boy denied that he broke the window.
Document. A document is an official piece of writing.
He was given an official document proving he was a citizen.
Emphasize. To emphasize is to give importance or attention to something.
She emphasized the key points by circling them in red ink.
Fever. A fever is a high body temperature that people get when they are sick.
Lydia had a high fever, so she didn't go to school.
Flu. The flu is a type of sickness that makes you feel weak or your body hurt.
Since he had the flu, he felt miserable.
Freeze. To freeze is to become very cold.
If you don't wear your coat in winter, you will freeze.
Gesture. A gesture is a movement of the hands or body.
My teacher makes a lot of gestures when she speaks.
Interrupt. To interrupt is to briefly stop someone when they are doing something.
My mother interrupted me when I was trying to listen to music.
Last. To last is to continue or go on for an amount of time.
The football match lasted for nearly 2 hours.
Likeness. Likeness means the state of being like or resemblance.
Michelle bears a strong likeness to her older sister Kate.
Moreover. Moreover means besides or in addition to something.
It's cold outside. Moreover, the wind is very strong.
Perspective. A perspective is the way you think about something.
The man's speech gave me a new perspective on our country.
Rational. When something is rational, it is normal or practical.
It is hard to think in a rational way when you are scared.
Recover. To recover is to go back to normal after something bad happens.
I hope the city will recover soon after the flood.
Rely. To rely on something or someone is to trust or depend on them.
The boy relied on his older brother to help him.
Shock. To shock people is to surprise them.
The man was shocked by the news.
Shy. When people are shy, they are nervous around people strange to them.
The girl was too shy to try out for the play.
Stare. To stare at something is to look at it for a long time.
The young couple stared into each other's eyes.
Thus. Thus means as a result or for that reason.
The sun was shining. Thus I wore my sunglasses.
Prince Sam. Sam's mother cooked at the royal palace. One day, he went to work with her. She emphasized that he should stay in the kitchen. But Sam was bored. Thus, he decided to look around. He went around a corner. It shocked him to see a boy who had a strong likeness to him. Sam soon recovered. The other boy stared at him. Then he spoke. "Come with me." He needed to be rational, but he couldn't deny that he wanted to go. So he followed the boy to a chamber. "I am Prince Bertram," the boy said. Sam felt shy talking to a prince. "I'm Sam." "Trade places with me," the prince said. "We can't. My mother will kill me. Moreover, I don't know anything about being a prince." "No one will find out," the prince interrupted. "We look the same, and even our gestures are the same. It will only last for a week." Sam said okay. Soon, Sam's perspective on being a prince changed. He spent most of his day signing royal documents. At night, the prince's chamber was cold. He thought he was going to freeze or get sick with a fever or the flu. He was happy when the week ended. So was the prince. "I didn't know how to do anything," the prince said. "I've always relied on my servants to do everything for me." "I think I like being a regular person," Sam said. "Being a prince isn't fun." So, they both returned to their normal positions and enjoyed their lives more than before. Adopt. To adopt someone is to make them as part of one's own family.
The girl was adopted by the couple when she was 3.
Beg. To beg is to ask for something one really wants.
The man begged for some money.
Beyond. If A is beyond B, A is farther away.
John's house is beyond that lake.
Costume. A costume is a set of clothes people wear for a particular occasion.
The woman wore a mask with her costume.
Exclaim. To exclaim is to say something loudly, usually due to being excited.
"Look at her dress," Sarah exclaimed.
Extend. To extend is to stretch out or reach.
The boy extended his hand to catch the ball.
Fool. A fool is someone who makes unwise choices.
The girl was a fool for playing too close to the water.
Forbid. To forbid is to tell someone they cannot do something.
My father forbids watching TV while we're eating dinner.
Illustrate. To illustrate is to show something by drawing a picture.
The executive illustrated the decreasing profits of the company.
Indeed. Indeed means truly or really.
The birthday party was indeed fun last night.
Interpret. To interpret is to explain what something means.
The woman interpreted what her coworker was trying to say.
Kindly. If people do something kindly, they do it in a nice way.
The stranger kindly cared for the hurt man.
Motive. A motive is the reason someone does something.
His motive for studying so hard is to get into a good college.
Nest. A nest is a place where a bird lays its eggs.
The bird laid her eggs in the nest that she made.
Origin. The origin of someone or something is where they come from.
The origin of the honey that we eat is from a beehive.
Reception. A reception is a party to welcome a person or celebrate an event.
We all danced and had a good time at the wedding reception.
Reject. To reject is to refuse something because you do not want it.
The girl rejected the broken cup.
Silence. Silence is complete quiet.
The man asked for silence while he worked on the problem.
Stream. A stream is a small river.
The boy caught a fish in the stream.
Tone. Tone is the sound of someone's voice. It shows how they feel.
My father's tone told me I had broken the rule. Mrs. May and the Green Girl. One morning, people from a small town found a little girl by a stream. She seemed to be wearing a green costume. As the people got closer, they saw that the girl's skin was green. "Oh my!" the people exclaimed. "What if her motive for coming to our town is bad? What if she has a strange origin?" An old woman kindly went to her. "Look how scared she is. Please," she begged, "do not reject her. I will adopt her." There was silence until the judge spoke. "I don't know," he said in a worried tone, "but we cannot forbid you. I indeed hope you're not being a fool." Mrs. May extended her hand to the girl. "Come with me. I won't hurt you." The girl spoke a language Mrs. May didn't know, but she was able to interpret what the girl was trying to say. Sometimes the girl drew pictures to illustrate what she meant. The green girl was from a place far beyond the sun. There, people lived in nests built in trees. They only ate green leaves, which made their skin green. "Well, you can't just eat leaves," Mrs. May said. She fed the green girl home-cooked meals, and soon the girl wasn't green anymore. The people had a huge reception to welcome her as a citizen of the town.
Alike. If two things or people are alike, they are similar in some way.
People often think my sister and I look alike.
Annoy. To annoy someone means to bother them.
The flies buzzing around John's head annoyed him very much.
Architecture. Architecture is the style or way a building is made.
The architecture of the church is amazing.
Artificial. If something is artificial, it is made to look like something natural.
That soccer field has artificial grass, but it looks real.
Chain. A chain is a series of connected loops, often used to keep things in place.
The scary dog was secured with a chain.
Distinct. If something is distinct, it is easily noticed or different from other things.
That girl has distinct pink hair.
Distinguish. To distinguish is to recognize differences between things.
The twins look exactly the same. It is hard to distinguish between them.
Dust. Dust is very tiny pieces of dirt or other matter.
In the old house, the dust was thick on the floor and chairs.
Excitement. Excitement means to feel a lot of happiness about something.
Did you see the excitement in her when the team scored?
Heal. To heal means to make a part of the body healthy again after injury.
After my broken arm heals, I can play baseball again.
Inherit. To inherit is to get something from someone who has died.
She inherited her mother's gold earrings.
Manner. A manner is the way someone does something.
His manner of not looking at someone while speaking is a bit rude.
Mount. Something mounts when it becomes stronger over time.
His fear mounted as the monster crawled out from under his bed.
Roof. A roof is the outside top part of a building.
The roof was covered with snow.
Shortage. A shortage is a lack of something you need or want.
Since there was a shortage of food, people were hungry.
Solid. If something is solid, it is made of firm material.
The safe looked to be quite solid.
Stock. A stock is a stored amount of something.
They keep a stock of rice so they'll always have something to eat.
Substance. A substance is any specific material or mixture of materials.
Water is an important substance for all living things.
Tomb. A tomb is a grave where a dead person is buried.
Their whole family is buried inside the tomb.
Wound. A wound is an injury to the body.
He had many wounds after the car accident. The clever thief. A new king inherited a lot of gold. He loved his gold very much. He even wanted to keep it after he died. Therefore, he had a large tomb built for himself and his riches. However, the tomb's builder had a plan. Most of the stones were solid, but he put one special stone on the roof. It was made of a lighter substance. When the tomb was done, the king moved in his stock of gold. One night, the builder went to the tomb. His excitement mounted. Because all the stones looked alike, he had left a distinct mark on the artificial block. The mark helped him distinguish the difference in the architecture. The builder lifted the stone. Using a chain, he climbed into the tomb. He filled his pockets with gold. The builder followed this manner night after night. Soon, the king noticed a shortage in his gold. This annoyed the king. At last he hired a guard to hide inside the tomb. When the builder entered the tomb, the guard wounded him. He climbed a pole to the roof. The builder left drops of blood in the dust. The guard followed them and caught him. When the builder healed, he explained to the king that he didn't keep any of the gold. He had given it all away to the poor.
Admit. To admit something means to say that it is true.
I had to admit that I stole his idea.
Bin. A bin is a container that holds things.
He put his trash in the bin.
Bowl. A bowl is a deep round dish that holds food or liquid.
I ate a bowl of cereal for breakfast.
Cabin. A cabin is a small house made of wood.
My grandfather owns a small cabin in the country.
Cash. Cash is money in the form of paper or coins.
I was able to save up enough cash to buy my mother a gift.
Criminal. A criminal is a person who does something against the law.
The police made sure the criminal couldn't move his hands.
Dozen. A dozen is a group of 12 things.
Mom brought home a dozen donuts for us as a treat.
Elder. An elder is a person who is older than the people around them.
Uncle Ray is my elder, so I always try to be respectful.
Facial. If something is facial, it is related to a person's face.
I could tell from his facial features that he was angry.
Fence. A fence is a structure around a house or field.
The farmer put up a fence so that no one could walk on her field.
Inspire. To inspire means to make a person want to do something.
I was inspired to write a poem after watching the sunrise.
Mere. When something is mere, it is small or not important.
We lost the game by a mere 2 points.
Neat. If something is neat, it is very clean or organized well.
My sister always keeps her bedroom very neat.
Occasion. An occasion is a time when something important happens.
Her graduation was an occasion to have a good time.
Penalty. A penalty is a punishment given when someone breaks a rule or law.
I had to pay a $100 penalty for parking in the wrong spot.
Rude. When someone is rude, they are mean and not polite.
The children at the bus stop were very rude.
Settle. To settle a problem means to end it by finding a solution.
It took 3 of our best executives all day to settle the problem.
Vehicle. A vehicle is a thing that moves people or things to another place.
A ferry is a vehicle that takes people from one island to another.
Wallet. A wallet is a thing that holds money and fits in a pocket.
I keep my money in a wallet.
Yell. To yell is to say something very loudly.
The coach yelled at his team for their poor performance. The criminal. A man had been in jail because he stole things. The criminal never felt bad. One day, he escaped and ran into the woods. He found a cabin with a fence. The cabin was very neat. Inside, the criminal found a bowl of fruit, a bottle of milk, and a dozen eggs. He ate the fruit and drank the milk. But the eggs smelled funny, so he put them in the trash bin. Soon he heard the sound of a vehicle's motor. An old man came in and saw the criminal. The old man yelled, "Why are you in my house?" The criminal lied, "I'm a policeman." The old man replied, "I am your elder. You cannot fool me. You are the criminal." The criminal's facial expression became very sad. He admitted that he was a criminal. He said, "I'm sorry. It was rude for me to come into your home. Please take the cash from my wallet. It is a mere amount, but it will settle our problem." The old man said, "I do not want your money. I just want to inspire you to be good. There will be no penalty for taking my food." On this occasion, the criminal realized that he had been bad. He listened to the old man and never stole from anyone ever again.
Bloom. When a plant blooms, it makes flowers.
Roses look so pretty when they bloom.
Compact. If something is compact, it is smaller than normal.
A laptop computer is much more compact than a desktop model.
Curl. A curl is a small piece of something with a round shape.
The colorful ribbons were bent into curls.
Decay. To decay is to be destroyed naturally.
The old wooden house was slowly decaying.
Dessert. Dessert is a sweet food that you eat after a meal.
Kayla wants ice cream for dessert.
Dip. To dip something is to put part of it into a liquid for a short time.
Laurel dipped her strawberry into the chocolate.
Distant. If something is distant, it is far away.
Michael could barely see the distant island.
Eclipse. An eclipse is an occasion when the moon moves in front of the sun.
A complete eclipse of the sun is a very rare occurrence.
Fairy. A fairy is a small magic creature with wings.
There are usually fairies in fantasy stories.
Grace. Grace is a quality of moving in a smooth, relaxed, and attractive way.
The ballerina danced with grace.
Leisure. Leisure is time when you do not have to do work.
Eve likes to listen to music in her leisure time.
Mankind. Mankind is all of the world's people.
All of mankind has to work to make this a better world.
Passion. Passion is a very strong feeling of wanting to do something.
She had a passion for dancing.
Pillow. A pillow is something that you put your head on when you sleep.
When I travel, I usually take along my favorite pillow.
Pulse. A pulse is the beat of the heart.
The doctor checked the patient's pulse by feeling his wrist.
Refresh. To refresh someone is to make them feel less hot or tired.
The baby was refreshed after taking a cool bath.
Sneeze. To sneeze is to suddenly blow air out of your nose and mouth.
He sneezed after smelling the flower.
Spice. A spice is a flavor for food and drinks.
Two common spices found in many homes are salt and pepper.
Whistle. To whistle is to make a sound by putting your lips together and blowing.
As he was listening to music, Darryl whistled.
Wool. Wool is the hair that a sheep has.
Grandma wants to use the blue wool to knit me a sweater. Tiny Tina. In a distant land, there was a kingdom where fairies lived. Tina was a fairy. She had yellow curls and wore a dress made of wool. She always moved with grace. However, because of her compact size, she was scared of mankind. One day, there was an eclipse of the sun. The fairies didn't know what was happening. They were scared, so they ran away. Tina looked for a place to hide. She found a garden with flowers blooming. Tina had a passion for flowers. She decided to hide there. She became sleepy and made a pillow with some leaves. She whistled happily as she worked, and she fell asleep. Suddenly, somebody sneezed. The sound woke Tina up. She saw a very big face looking at her. Tina was so scared that she couldn't move. She could feel her pulse going very fast. The big woman went into her house. When she came back, she gave Tina a cup. The woman sat on the ground among some decaying leaves. Tina dipped a finger in the cup and tasted it. It was tea with all kinds of delicious spices in it. Tina felt refreshed after drinking the tea. "I'm Wilma," the lady said. "I spend all my leisure time in my garden cutting flowers. Would you like some dessert?" Tina said yes. She was hungry, and she wasn't frightened anymore. She took a bite of cake and relaxed. "How did you get to my garden?" Tina told Wilma how she got lost. "That's terrible. Let us take you home." "Actually, I think that I want to stay with you," Tina said. She wasn't scared of big people anymore. Wilma and Tina lived happily ever after.
Abnormal. If something is abnormal, it is strange or not normal.
Her idea of art is a bit too abnormal for me.
Bamboo. Bamboo is a hard plant with thin branches and leaves.
Outside his home, there's a lot of bamboo.
Blossom. A blossom is a flower or group of flowers.
There were colorful blossoms in the yard.
Compass. A compass is a device used to tell what direction one is going.
A compass is an important tool to have when you are traveling.
Dialect. A dialect is a regional variety of language showing where you are from.
People from the UK have a different dialect of English from those in the US.
Dishonest. If someone is dishonest, they do not tell the truth.
She was being dishonest when she copied the answers from his test.
Dwarf. A dwarf is a creature from stories that often looks like a short, hairy man.
The dwarf had a pleasant look on his face.
Ecosystem. An ecosystem is a group of plants and animals in an area.
The river's ecosystem not only includes fish, but other insects and plants too.
Fatal. If something is fatal, it causes death.
They passed away in a fatal car crash.
Impatient. If someone is impatient, they are not able to wait for things.
Bob was so impatient that he could barely wait for the light to turn green.
Leaf. A leaf is the flat green thing on trees or bushes.
In the fall, the leaves on the trees change colors.
Manuscript. A manuscript is an old book or paper written by hand.
The manuscript was written over 150 years ago.
Marsh. A marsh is a type of wet land covered with grasses and short plants.
The marsh looked so lovely against the mountains.
Patience. Patience is the ability to wait for something without becoming upset.
Sue's patience was rewarded by catching her very first fish.
Perfume. Perfume is a good-smelling liquid that girls wear.
When she wore her perfume, everyone said she smelled great.
Pond. A pond is a very small area of water.
The ducks swam in the pond.
Proverb. A proverb is a short saying that tells you something important.
The proverb, egg on your face, means you've done something embarrassing.
Pursuit. A pursuit is a chase.
The dinosaur was in pursuit of the caveman.
Recite. To recite something means to repeat or say aloud in front of a group.
Katie recited the Pledge of Allegiance in class.
Wilderness. A wilderness is an area where no people live.
If you are not careful, you can get lost in the wilderness.
Peter and the Dwarf. Peter was a hunter. One day he was in pursuit of a deer and became lost. He usually carried a compass with him when he went into the wilderness, but that day he left it at home. As he walked, the forest began to look different. He didn't see any bamboo. Instead, there were bushes with long leaves. The ecosystem was now very abnormal. Peter knew he was in the magic marsh. Now he was tired and thirsty. He was afraid. Being lost in the marsh could be fatal. When people entered it, they never came out. At last he found a pond. Flowers grew around it. The blossoms smelled like the best perfume. He felt relaxed, so he drank some water and fell asleep. When he awoke, he saw an evil dwarf staring at him. "What are you doing here?" it asked. The dwarf spoke in a strange dialect. "I'm lost," said Peter. "Can you help me?" "Yes," it said, but Peter didn't know it was dishonest. The dwarf took an old manuscript from his pocket. It was a magic map. "Just recite the words at the bottom," the dwarf explained. "It will show you how to get home." "Good," Peter said. He was impatient and quickly grabbed the map. He recited the magic words, and a line appeared on the map. He walked for many days, but never left the marsh. Finally, the map led him back to the pond. He walked in a circle. The dwarf was still there. "Here's a proverb for you to think about," it said. "When patience is lost, then so are you." Accustomed. When you become accustomed to something, you are in the habit of it.
Grandfather is accustomed to reading the newspaper every morning.
Affirm. To affirm is to say that something is true.
Using a graph, Malcolm affirmed the success of the company.
Astonished. If someone is astonished, they are very surprised or shocked.
I was astonished when he pulled the live rabbit out of his hat.
Bang. To bang is to hit something to make a noise.
The drummer banged on his drum as he marched in the parade.
Clan. A clan is a group of relatives or friends.
The Lee clan meets every year to celebrate the New Year.
Dim. When something is dim, it does not give out much light.
Working in a dim room is bad for your eyes.
Emphasis. Emphasis is special attention or importance.
The students put special emphasis on Chapter 4 because it will be on the test.
Fable. A fable is a short story that teaches a lesson.
In the fable about the tortoise and the hare, the lesson is consistency.
Feast. A feast is a large meal for many people.
At Thanksgiving, I enjoy a wonderful feast with my family.
Glow. To glow is to make a soft light.
The small flame glowed softly.
Hollow. When something is hollow, it has an empty space inside.
Straws are hollow, so liquid can flow through them.
Instinct. Instinct is the natural way that people behave without thinking about it.
Cats hunt mice because of instinct.
Joint. A joint is a place of the body where the bones meet, such as the knee.
Two important bones in your leg meet at a joint in your knee.
Leak. To leak is to let a liquid or gas pass through a flaw.
The pipe leaks from many places.
Physician. A physician is a doctor.
The physician said I would feel better if I took my medicine.
Sacrifice. To sacrifice something valuable is to give it up to get something else.
Her parents sacrificed a lot of money in order for her to go to college.
Stiff. When something is stiff, it is hard to move.
The bird was standing on the tree's stiff branch.
Stroke. To stroke is to move a hand over something or someone.
She stroked her cheek to see if there was something on it.
Tragic. When something is tragic, it is connected with death and suffering.
The airplane crashed in a tragic accident.
Tune. A tune is a song.
The students played a familiar tune for the audience.
The old man with a bump. An old man had a large bump on his face. He went to the best physician in town. He gave the old man tragic news. "I can't do anything. You'll have to get accustomed to it." One day the old man went into the forest. Suddenly the light became dim. It was going to rain. So he found a hollow tree to sit under. It leaked a little, but there was no other place he could wait. When the rain stopped, his joints felt stiff from sitting. Suddenly, he heard a tune coming from far away. Many fables said monsters lived in the forest. No one could affirm that the stories were true, though. Still, his instincts told him that there was something out there. He walked farther into the forest. Then he saw a fire glowing. He was astonished to see a clan of monsters. They were having a great feast and banging on drums. He stood behind a tree, spying on them. Then the leader asked, "Who's the best dancer here?" "Me," the man yelled, coming from behind the tree. He started to dance. When he was finished, the leader said, "I want you to dance every night. In order to make sure you return, I'm going to keep something you love." "Please don't take my bump," he begged. "I can't sacrifice it. It's good luck," he exclaimed, pointing at it for emphasis. The monsters agreed that they had to take his bump. After they did, the man stroked his face to make sure it was gone. He had tricked them. He never went back, and he never had to worry about his bump again. Baggage. Baggage is the set of bags that people take with them when they travel.
I'm taking several pieces of baggage with me on vacation.
Bulb. A bulb is the glass part of an electric light.
I had to change the light bulb in my bedroom.
Bundle. A bundle is a number of things that are tied together.
I was shocked when he showed me a bundle of money.
Cattle. Cattle are cows and bulls, especially on a farm.
The rancher's cattle were eating the grass in the field.
Flee. To flee means to run away from trouble or danger.
The crowd of men tried to flee from the danger.
Graze. To graze means to eat grass.
The cows grazed in the field.
Greed. Greed is a desire to have more than the things that you need.
She ate all the cookies out of her greed.
Herd. A herd is a large group of the same type of animals that live together.
The herd of cows moved slowly across the ranch.
Initiate. To initiate something means to start it.
You have to turn the switch on to initiate the computer system.
Lane. A lane is a small road.
The lane passes directly in front of our house.
Nerve. Nerve is bravery or the belief that you can do something.
He has the nerve to think that he can actually wrestle with a lion.
Optimist. An optimist is somebody who sees the good parts of a situation.
Even though he has physical problems, my brother is an optimist.
Parade. A parade is a celebration when groups of people walk in the same direction.
There were many marching bands in the spring parade.
Pave. To pave the ground is to lay material on it to make it easier to walk or drive on.
The path was paved with yellow bricks.
Phantom. A phantom is a ghost or spirit.
A scary phantom appeared from out of the darkness.
Portable. Something that is portable is able to be moved or carried easily.
Since computers are portable, people can use them anywhere.
Poster. A poster is a written announcement that is used to advertise something.
I saw a poster about a free concert in the park.
Scratch. To scratch is to make small cuts with a claw or fingernail.
I used a stick to scratch my back.
Symphony. A symphony is a long piece of music performed by many musicians.
Alex, a violin player, has always dreamt of playing a symphony.
Widow. A widow is a woman whose husband has died.
The widow had no children and was very lonely. The Bremen town musicians. Larry the cow, Harry the rooster, and Lester the duck lived on a widow's farm. They dreamed of playing music in a parade. One day, the widow went to the lawn where her herd of cattle was grazing. "I'll eat him tomorrow," she said, pointing to Larry. Larry wanted to flee, but he didn't have the nerve to go by himself. Then his friends Lester and Harry showed him a poster. "It's for a parade in Bremen. We'll go with you, and we can perform our symphony there," Lester said. The animals put together a small bundle that held a drum, a flute, and a portable microphone. Then they took their baggage and initiated their long journey. They walked down a paved lane all day. That night, they looked in the window of a house. They saw a group of thieves. They were eating a large dinner and telling stories about their greed and the people they stole from. Lester was an optimist. He said, "I think we can scare them away." Soon, the animals came up with a plan. Harry flew inside and knocked over the lamp.
"What was that?"
screamed a thief as the bulb broke. They could barely see now. Then Larry stood on 2 feet, and Lester flew to the top of his head. They looked very big. All 3 of the animals made scary noises. The thieves tried to hit the animals, but Harry flew over them and scratched them.
"It's a phantom!"
yelled one thief. The thieves ran away. The animals ate and rested. The next morning, Larry said,
"Why go to Bremen? We can stay here and make music."
And so they remained there and were quite happy.
Beak. A beak is the hard, curved part of a bird's mouth.
The bird used her beak to dig a small hole in the ground.
Damp. If something is damp, it is somewhat wet.
My hair is still damp from my shower.
Disapprove. To disapprove of something is to think that it is wrong.
Alex disapproved of his son's behavior.
Except. You use except to talk about the only thing that a statement does not apply to.
Everyone had fun on the trip except Jim, who felt ill the whole time.
Flight. A flight is an act of flying, often in an airplane.
The airplane made a flight around the world.
Fond. When someone is fond of something, they like it.
I am very fond of chocolate cake.
Immoral. When something or someone is immoral, they are evil or do bad things.
Stealing money from one's mother is an immoral act.
Ivy. Ivy is a plant with long vines that grows upward, typically on walls.
The walls of the castle are covered with ivy.
Moan. To moan is to make a low sound when feeling pain or sadness.
The sick man moaned from his bed.
Oblivious. If someone is oblivious of something, they are unaware of it.
I was late to school because I was oblivious of the time.
Perish. To perish means to die, usually because of bad conditions or a bad events.
Many people perish in wars.
Pit. A pit is a big hole in the ground.
Michael fell into the pit and needed some help to get out.
Rim. The rim is the outside edge of a round thing, like a cup or bottle.
I put my lips to the rim of the bottle and took a drink.
Roost. A roost is a place where birds can land and rest or sleep.
The family of doves made a roost at the top of the tree.
Slippery. If something is slippery, it is wet or smooth and causes people to slip.
The repairman fell down on the floor because it was too slippery.
Soar. To soar means to fly high in the air.
As the sun rose, 2 eagles soared through the sky.
Trivial. If something is trivial, it is not important or meaningful.
Television is trivial, but learning to read is very important.
Typical. If something is typical, it is normal for a certain type of thing.
Barking is typical behavior for dogs.
Utterly. If something is utterly away, it is completely that way.
When the sun was blocked by the moon, it was utterly dark outside.
Weep. To weep means to cry.
My sister told me the dramatic movie would make me weep. The Tricky Fox. There was a fox that lived in the forest. Fox loved to play mean tricks on the other animals. One day, he used the sharp rim of a bottle to dig a pit in the ground. He hid in a tree until Rabbit came to the pit's edge. Then, he jumped out and pushed Rabbit into the pit. Fox laughed and ran away. The angry Rabbit climbed out and told the other animals what happened. The others said, "That is typical behavior for Fox. He does mean things all the time. Sometimes he is completely immoral. We all disapprove of his actions, so we should teach him a lesson. Tomorrow, we'll push Fox into that pit." The next day, all of the animals hid near the pit and waited for Fox. Fox was oblivious to the hidden animals. He walked up to the pit to see if Rabbit was still trapped. Just then, the other animals ran up to Fox and pushed him in. All the animals laughed and cheered, except Fox, of course. Fox couldn't get out. The walls of the pit were covered in damp ivy. It was too slippery for him to climb out. He was utterly helpless. He moaned and began to weep. At last he saw Eagle watching him from her roost. He yelled, "Eagle, please help me. If I don't get out of here, I will perish." Eagle said, "You may think your tricks are trivial, but you hurt others when you do mean things. I'll help you if you promise to be nice. Fox said, I promise. Eagle began her flight to the bottom of the pit. She picked up Fox with her beak and soared out of the pit. She dropped Fox safely on the ground. Fox thanked Eagle and kept his promise. He was nice to the other animals. The animals even became fond of Fox, and the forest was a happy place.
Absolute. If something is absolute, it is total or complete.
My presentation was an absolute disaster. It was terrible.
Alas. Alas is a word that people say when something bad happens.
I looked everywhere for my purse, but alas, I couldn't find it.
Attentive. If you are attentive, you are careful and you pay attention.
He is a good student because he is attentive to every detail on his work.
Cape. A cape is a large cloth that covers one's back and is tied around the neck.
The superhero wore a long red cape.
Envision. To envision something means to imagine that it may happen.
I can envision my mom's face when I give her this present.
Evenly. When something happens evenly, it happens at the same rate or level.
The food was handed out evenly among the hungry people.
Folk. Folk are common or average people.
I've invited all the folks from our street to a gathering at my place.
Melt. To melt means to turn from a solid to a liquid.
The snowman that we made yesterday melted in the sun.
Patch. A patch is a part of a surface that is different in appearance from the rest.
There was one small patch of grass in the sand-covered desert.
Pleasure. Pleasure is a feeling of happiness.
The student smiled with pleasure when she received the prize.
Pop. A pop is a short, loud sound.
I heard a loud pop, then my computer screen shattered.
Pudding. A pudding is a sweet dessert.
Would you like some chocolate pudding and coffee for dessert?
Rail. A rail is a horizontal bar made of metal or wood.
The cat was sitting on the rail of the fence.
Recipe. A recipe is a set of instructions to make food.
The apple cake that you made is really tasty. Can I have the recipe, please?
Role. A role is the normal purpose or function of a person or thing.
My role at work is to check the quality of the products.
Shrink. To shrink means to get smaller.
If you stick to a healthy diet, your stomach will shrink.
Soak. To soak something means to make it very wet.
You need to soak these beans overnight before you cook them.
Spark. A spark is a small, quick flash of fire.
As he welded the two pieces of metal together, sparks flew everywhere.
Spirit. A spirit is someone's feelings and personality, but not a physical body part.
He has a very outgoing spirit. He can make friends with anyone.
Suit. A suit is a set of clothes. It usually includes a jacket with pants or a skirt.
I wore my new suit on my date with Melissa. Jack Frost and the Pudding. Every winter, a magical boy with a wild spirit named Jack Frost arrives in town. He wears a white cape, and his role is to cover everything with frost and ice. But Jack Frost also gets pleasure from playing tricks on common folks. One dark winter evening, he was sitting on the rail of a fence near a river, pointing at some trees. When he did so, there was a pop, and the trees were evenly covered in frost. Then old Tom Muggins came along the path. He was carrying a basket of ingredients for his wife's cake recipe. "I'll have some fun with him," said Jack Frost. He pointed, and suddenly there was a patch of ice on the path. Poor Tom slipped and fell into the river. The bags of flour, fruit, and sugar fell open and got wet. A couple of eggs broke, and a stick of butter shrank in the water. Tom gathered the ingredients and climbed out of the river. The food made an absolute mess of the path.
"Alas,"
he cried,
"there'll be no cake for me."
Jack Frost laughed at poor Tom because his nice suit got soaked as well.
"Are you cold?"
he said.
"Don't worry, I'll make you warm."
He pointed at the mess in Tom's basket. Suddenly, there was a spark. What was left of the food caught fire. Jack Frost ran off laughing. Poor Tom sat by the fire. He could only envision how angry his wife would be. He wished he had been more attentive and noticed that Jack was around. Suddenly, a pleasant smell came from the basket. Tom looked inside. The butter was melting, and the eggs were starting to cook. Even the fruit began to simmer. Soon there was a fat, brown pudding in the basket. Tom tasted it. It was delicious. He happily took it home for dessert. Although Jack Frost had tried to make Tom's life difficult, Jack had actually made Tom a wonderful pudding.
Civilization. A civilization is an organized group of humans that have culture and government.
Most early civilizations in Central America didn't use metal weapons.
Convenient. When something is convenient, it is easy to do and does not take a lot of work.
The bus is a convenient way to get to school.
Den. A den is a living space for some types of animals, such as lions.
The mother lion left her babies in the den.
Dew. Dew is the drops of water that form on the ground outside during the night.
When we woke up, we saw that the grass was covered in dew.
Drastic. When something is drastic, it is extreme or major.
She made a drastic decision to get her long hair cut short.
Exit. To exit means to leave.
The students exited through the front door.
Flock. A flock is a group of animals, such as birds, sheep, or goats.
There was one black sheep in the entire flock.
Fold. To fold is to bend something like paper or cloth so that it takes up less space.
I folded the paper and put it in my pocket.
Lid. A lid is a top for a box or container that can be removed.
He lifted the lid of the box and revealed her present.
Loom. To loom is to seem very large and often scary.
The ominous clouds loomed over the school.
Mighty. When something is mighty, it is strong and large.
The mighty wrestler scared all who faced him.
Mushroom. A mushroom is a fungus with a round top. Some are used as food.
The soup had fresh mushrooms in it.
Native. When something is native, it is originating in a certain place or area.
Avocados are native fruits of Mexico.
Poison. Poison is a dangerous substance that causes illness or death.
They used poison to get rid of the rats in their home.
Reed. Reeds are tall and skinny plants that grow in groups near water.
The sun set behind the reeds of the lake shore.
Shield. To shield something is to protect it.
She shielded her eyes from the sun with sunglasses.
Stormy. Stormy describes something affected or characterized by storms.
The golfers decided to go home because of the stormy weather.
Sway. To sway is to move slowly from side to side.
She swayed while she listened to the music.
Urban. When something is urban, it is related to the city.
Subways are an important form of urban transportation.
Wade. To wade is to walk in or pass through water.
The child waded in the water at the beach.
Kara goes camping. Kara, would you like to go camping with my family? Asked Tracy. Kara had never been camping before, but she decided to go anyway. That weekend, they drove to Estes Park. When they arrived, Kara looked around. She felt so far from civilization. After they set up the camp, they went for a walk. Tracy's father, Mr. Greaves, showed them the native plants and animals. Look, he said, that's a fox's den. Do you see that bunch of mushrooms next to it? Don't touch them. They contain poison. Kara was bored. She didn't care about nature. As the day went on, mighty clouds soon loomed in the distance. It looks like stormy weather, said Tracy. We should go back. It suddenly began to rain. They used an umbrella to shield them from the rain. Back at the camp, they ate cold sandwiches for dinner and went to sleep. By morning, the rain had stopped. It was a drastic change from the previous day's weather. They folded their sleeping bags and put them in a box. Tracy closed the lid and told Kara, "Today will be fun, I promise." Kara didn't believe her. She missed her convenient life in the city. She was used to an urban lifestyle. After breakfast, they went for a walk. The grass was covered with dew, and it gleamed in the sunlight. Finally, they reached a lake. Kara and Tracy waded into the water. The reeds swayed in the wind, and a flock of birds flew above. Kara felt very peaceful. That night, they made a fire. They sat around it while Mr. Greaves told scary stories. Kara had a lot of fun. Camping was a good way for friends to spend time together, she realized. The next day, it was time for them to leave. She felt sad while they exited the park. She didn't like camping at first, but she learned how fun it could be over the weekend. Betray. To betray someone means to treat them in a dishonest way.
The man betrayed his country when he gave away national secrets.
Blast. A blast is a loud noise made by something that explodes.
There was a loud blast when the police officer fired the gun.
Bracelet. A bracelet is a piece of jewelry that you wear around your wrist.
My father gave me a pretty gold bracelet for my birthday.
Cease. To cease means to stop.
After about an hour, the rain ceased and a rainbow appeared.
Choke. To choke means to cough because you have difficulty breathing.
There was a lot of smoke in the air, and it made me choke.
Civil. When an event is civil, it happens inside a country.
The country was torn apart by a terrible civil war.
Comment. To comment means to say something that shows your personal opinion.
Tom commented on the poor quality of the food.
Cross. To cross means to go from one side to the other side.
We used his boat to cross to the other side of the lake.
Dent. A dent is damage caused by something heavy hitting something else.
That blue car hit my car, and now there is a small dent in my car door.
Distrust. To distrust someone means to believe that they are not honest.
Don't lend money to someone if you distrust them.
Fort. A fort is a small building that is specially built to defend an area from attack.
When the army arrived, they built a big fort on the top of the hill.
Found. To found means to bring something into existence.
The pastor founded his church in the countryside.
Lining. Lining is a piece of cloth that covers the inside of clothes.
This jacket is very warm because it has a thick lining.
Mass. A mass is a large number of things of one type.
We received a mass of letters this morning.
Pray. To pray means to talk to God.
When people go to church, they pray for their families and friends.
Rife. If a place is rife with something bad, it is very common in that place.
This part of the country is rife with disease.
Sole. When something is the sole thing, it is the only thing of a particular type.
His sole purpose in life was to help others.
Sweep. If you sweep the floor, you clean it with a tool like a broom or a brush.
There is a lot of dirt on the floor. Can you sweep it, please?
Treachery. Treachery is a behavior in which a person betrays a country or a person.
The man ran away to escape from the treachery of his wife.
Tuck. To tuck something means to put it somewhere so that it is neat or safe.
He looked sloppy without his shirt being tucked into his pants. The Betrayal. A king lived in a fort with his daughter Clara. The king had founded a great empire, but his land was rife with enemies who wanted to take over the kingdom. Because there was so much civil unrest, the king told Clara not to trust anyone. One day, Clara was walking outside when she saw a girl sweeping the path. Clara crossed the garden, and they started talking. The girl's name was Susie. Clara felt sorry for Susie because she was very poor, and Clara gave her a bracelet. After that, Susie and Clara met every day. Once the king saw them talking. He told Clara, "Don't talk to that girl. She could be an enemy." "You can't distrust everyone," commented Clara. "She is my sole friend. It's okay to be friendly to people." The king said, "Don't argue with me. Stay inside from now on and talk to no one." Clara felt lonely in the fort, but one day she saw Susie outside. She wrote her a note with a map showing a secret entrance to the fort. Clara wrote, "Come at night and we can talk together. Don't show anybody this note." She threw the note to Susie, and Susie tucked it in the lining of her dress. That night Clara waited for Susie. But she heard something ticking, and then a loud blast. She ran into the hall, and it was full of smoke, which made her choke. A mass of soldiers were there fighting. Clara realized that Susie had betrayed her and given the map to her father's enemies. Clara prayed that everyone in the castle would be safe from her friend's treachery. At last, the fighting ceased. Clara found her father in the hall with his soldiers. They had defeated their enemies, but there were dents in their armor from the heavy fighting. Clara told her father what she had done and promised never to disobey him again.
Cherish. To cherish something means to hold it as very important.
I cherish this trophy I won.
Compassion. Compassion is a feeling of understanding for someone who is hurt or suffering.
The veterinarian had compassion for the sick little puppy.
Consent. Consent is permission to do something.
Their mother gave the children consent to go outside and play.
Core. The core is the center of something.
The rings of a tree start forming at its core.
Cunning. If someone is cunning, they are good at tricking people.
The cunning child fooled his parents into thinking that he was kind.
Dizzy. If someone is dizzy, then they feel off balance as if they will fall down.
The pregnant woman was dizzy after standing up too quickly.
Equilibrium. Equilibrium is the balance between different forces.
The sudden drop in prices upset the equilibrium of the economy.
Foster. To foster a feeling or a skill means to help it develop.
She helped foster a sense of calm in the little boy.
Grind. To grind something means to break it into very small pieces or powder.
She wanted to grind the beans so she could brew some coffee.
Growl. To growl means to make a deep, angry sound.
The dog started to growl at the man walking by.
Moderation. Moderation is a state of being just enough but not too much.
It is important to eat in moderation so that you can have a healthy body.
Predator. A predator is an animal that kills and eats other animals.
The peregrine falcon is a predator that eats fish.
Sane. If someone is sane, they can think in a normal way.
Oliver does not act like a sane person when he is angry.
Saucer. A saucer is a small round dish that you set a cup on.
He placed the spoon on the saucer.
Snatch. To snatch something means to take it away with a quick motion.
He was so hungry that he snatched an apple from a tree.
Stagger. To stagger means to move in an unsteady way and almost fall over.
He staggered around after having too much to drink.
Stumble. To stumble means to put your foot down wrong so that you almost fall.
He stumbled as he ran through the puddle.
Tense. If someone is tense, they are worried something bad might happen.
After the phone call, Monica was very tense.
Tumble. To tumble means to fall, often in a rolling way.
He lost his balance while snowboarding and tumbled to the ground.
Withhold. To withhold something is to not give it to someone.
They withheld all information until she paid her fine. The Traveler and the Innkeeper. A traveler stopped at an inn. He sat and watched people closely, like a predator. He heard the old innkeeper talking to a young man in the core of the inn. "I just need to borrow some money. I swear that I'll spend it in moderation, and my friend will pay you back tomorrow," the man said. The innkeeper gave his consent and pulled out some money. The traveler knew that this was a trick. The man was going to leave with the poor innkeeper's money and never return. He felt compassion for the nice innkeeper and did not want him to be tricked. The cunning traveler decided to teach the innkeeper a lesson. The traveler walked over to the innkeeper and sat down. The innkeeper had started to grind coffee beans to make coffee. He made the coffee and handed the traveler a saucer and a cup. The two started talking. After a while, the traveler yawned and then growled like a wolf. "Are you not sane? I thought I just heard you growl," said the innkeeper. "I did. I am cursed. Every time I yawn 3 times in a row, I turn into a wolf and attack people." The innkeeper became tense. Then the traveler yawned again. As the traveler started to yawn a 3rd time, the innkeeper turned to run outside. As he ran, the traveler snatched his coat. The scared innkeeper staggered outside and tumbled into the street. The traveler followed him out because he did not want to withhold the truth any longer. He just wanted to foster happiness and restore the innkeeper's emotional equilibrium. The innkeeper was dizzy and he stumbled. The traveler helped him stand up. "That was a trick," the traveler said as he returned the coat. "Oh, good. I cherish this coat," responded the innkeeper. "Well, hopefully this will teach you that you shouldn't believe every story that you hear."
Assumption. An assumption is something that you believe is true but cannot prove.
"I went to the cafeteria on the assumption that everyone would be there."
Barley. Barley is a grain that is used for animal feed, health food, and beer.
The farmer grew barley to feed his cows in the winter.
Beast. A beast is a large, dangerous animal.
A lion is one of the fiercest beasts on earth.
Colonel. A colonel is a military officer.
James has been given a promotion in the army. He is now a colonel.
Contagious. If a disease is contagious, it is easily carried from one person to another.
You must wear protective clothing because the patient's illness is contagious.
Corpse. A corpse is a dead body of a human.
After the accident, the corpse was taken to the hospital.
Crisis. A crisis is a situation that is extremely stressful or dangerous.
The airport workers' strike led to a crisis at the airport.
Cure. To cure means to cause an illness or injury to end or disappear.
My dentist cured me of my toothache.
Deformed. If something is deformed, it is not shaped normally and may appear ugly.
Even though the carrot was deformed, it was still safe to eat.
Discriminate. To discriminate means to judge people according to their looks.
They discriminated against her because she was different.
Embassy. An embassy is where government officials work in a foreign country.
If you lose your passport, you should contact the embassy.
Extinguish. To extinguish a fire means to make it stop.
Michael extinguished the small fire with the hose.
Flint. Flint is a hard stone that people used to make weapons for hunting.
There are a lot of flint tools in the museum.
Harass. To harass someone means to annoy or trouble them.
The children harassed their mother because they wanted her attention.
Integrate. To integrate means to join, communicate, and socialize.
Governments want immigrants to integrate with the population.
Miniature. If something is miniature, it is very small.
The boy enjoys playing with his miniature train set in his bedroom.
Nutrition. Nutrition is the process by which people use food to stay healthy.
It is important to pay attention to nutrition if you want to be an athlete.
Promptly. If something happens promptly, it happens quickly or on time.
Arrive promptly, or we won't have time to discuss everything.
Technician. A technician is a person who is skilled in electronic or mechanical work.
I need to call the technician to help me with my computer.
Tropics. The tropics are the areas of land and sea close to the equator.
People like to go to the tropics for vacation because it's warm. The forest people. Colonel Wilbur and his wife Mary were flying over the tropics in their private plane, but suddenly the engine caught fire. It was impossible to extinguish the fire, so they were forced to land in the forest. "What are we going to do?" said Mary. "Can you fix the plane?" Wilbur said, "That's impossible. I am not a technician, and the plane is out of gasoline. We'll have to find help." Wilbur and Mary walked through the forest. It was difficult to find a path through the trees. Mary even tore her dress on sharp thorns. Suddenly, they saw some huts and lots of miniature people cooking and making weapons with flint. "I'll ask them for help," said Wilbur. "No, don't go. They are deformed," said Mary. "They'll harass us. They may have a contagious virus that will make us sick. We won't know how to cure it. We'll surely end up as corpses." Wilbur tried to persuade Mary to go to the forest people, but she refused to integrate with them. She had the assumption that the small people were dangerous. "Let's keep walking. We're sure to find someone sooner or later." For 3 days, the couple searched, but they found no one who could help them in their crisis. It was uncomfortable, and they were hungry without any source of nutrition. Plus, the forest was filled with dangerous beasts. Finally, Mary agreed to return to the forest people. When Wilbur and Mary arrived at the village, the forest people immediately welcomed them. They gave them bread made from barley to eat and a place to sleep. The next day, the forest people led Wilbur and Mary through the trees, and they promptly arrived at a small town. From there, they took a bus to the city, where they found an embassy. Mary was sorry that she had not trusted the forest people sooner. She learned the value of not discriminating against people who are different.
Allot. To allot something means to give it to someone.
The coach allotted each team 5 minutes to prepare a strategy.
Appall. To appall means to horrify, shock, or disgust someone.
The boy was appalled when he saw the accident.
Cache. A cache is a hiding place for valuable things.
The pirates kept their jewelry in a cache hidden in a cave.
Convenience. Convenience is a state of being able to do something with little effort.
The Internet allows consumers to shop at their own convenience.
Dearth. A dearth is an amount or supply which is not large enough.
There is a dearth of money in my bank account. I can't afford a new car.
Deliberate. If a thing you do is deliberate, you intend to do it.
She made a deliberate effort to save money each month.
Dire. When something is dire, it is terrible and very serious.
The tornado created a dire situation for the small town.
Elapse. To elapse means to pass, as in seconds, minutes, or hours.
A few seconds must elapse before you can take another picture.
Empathy. Empathy is sharing or understanding another person's feelings.
The caring nurse had empathy for her patients.
Fanciful. When something is fanciful, it is unusual or unrealistic.
The girl had fanciful ideas about doing well in school without studying.
Gripe. To gripe means to complain constantly.
Lawrence always gripes when he has to do chores.
Grueling. When something is grueling, it is very hard to do.
The climber faced the grueling task of reaching the top of the steep mountain.
Mundane. When something is mundane, it is boring, common, or ordinary.
The man had the mundane chore of raking thousands of leaves into piles.
Opt. To opt is to make a choice, especially when deciding in favor of something.
My brother likes chocolate ice cream, but I always opt for vanilla.
Outrage. Outrage is a very strong emotion of anger or shock.
Tommy was feeling outrage when his parents said he couldn't go to the dance.
Paltry. When an amount of something is paltry, it is very small.
The poor man had a paltry sum of money.
Rectify. To rectify something means to correct it.
I quickly rectified the spelling mistakes that I had on my essay.
Resourceful. When someone is resourceful, they are good at dealing with hard situations.
After his boat sunk, Matt was resourceful enough to build a raft.
Sustenance. Sustenance is food and water needed to keep a person, animal, or plant alive.
Without the proper sustenance, the man will starve.
Tedious. When something is tedious, it is long, frustrating, and boring.
His job involved a lot of tedious typing, filing, and organizing.
The Little Mice. Beth was a very resourceful and conservative mouse. She knew that winter was coming and that there would soon be a dearth of food, so she decided to make gathering food for winter her primary job. Gathering food was a grueling and mundane activity, but Beth made a deliberate effort because she knew that it was important. She allotted herself a few hours every day to collect beans. By winter, she had collected a massive pile and hid them in a cache. Beth had a sister named Mary. Mary lacked ambition. She had fanciful ideas about how she would survive winter. She thought that food would just come to her and that she could work at her own convenience. She opted to spend the days playing and dancing instead of gathering beans. When the final hours of autumn elapsed, Mary had only a paltry amount of food stored away. Mary realized that her food supply was too small to last through winter. She visited her sister. Mary said, "Beth, I am in a dire situation. I didn't gather enough food for winter. Will you let me share your beans? Please have some empathy for your sister." Beth thought for a moment. Then she replied, "Mary, I am truly sorry for you, but I will not give you any of my beans. Instead, I will let you have my empty bag. You can still work hard and gather enough food for the winter. It will be tedious, but you will learn the value of hard work." Beth's words appalled Mary. Mary cried with outrage. "There is too much work. I won't have any time to dance or play." Beth said, "It is crucial that you gather enough food. You must have sustenance before you have fun. Go now and rectify your situation." Mary griped some more, but she knew that her sister was right. She took the bag and went to work gathering her own beans for the winter. Alternate. To alternate means to switch back and forth between two things.
The best exercise alternates muscle and heart strengthening.
Apologetic. If someone is apologetic, they are sorry about something.
The boy felt apologetic after losing his sister's favorite toy.
Benign. If something or someone is benign, they do not hurt anyone.
Many spiders look scary, but most are actually benign.
Char. To char means to burn something so that it turns black.
While Frank went inside to get the mustard, he accidentally charred the hot dogs.
Clarify. To clarify means to make something easier to understand by explaining it.
Drew tried to clarify all the functions of Michelle's new computer.
Distress. Distress is the feeling of being upset or worried.
Failing a class caused the student a lot of distress.
Dogged. When someone's actions are dogged, they try hard to continue something.
Her dad bought her a new jacket after her dogged request for one.
Ensue. To ensue means to happen after something.
After a few minutes of lightning, thunder ensued.
Gasp. To gasp means to make a noise by quickly breathing in when surprised.
John always gasps when watching a scary movie.
Negotiate. To negotiate means to try to make an agreement through discussion.
Mario and Joe took a long time negotiating the contract between the companies.
Overdose. An overdose is an instance of taking or having too much of something.
John's skin was burned from an overdose of sunshine.
Persuasion. Persuasion is the act of making someone do or believe something.
The persuasion of his argument convinced the customer to buy the laptop.
Relay. A relay is a race in which teams of runners or swimmers race against each other.
Jerry was the fastest on his team, so he ran the last part of the relay.
Reluctance. Reluctance is a feeling of not wanting to do something.
Jesse took out the trash with great reluctance.
Restate. To restate something means to say it again or in a different way.
Mrs. Jones restated the test question to the class.
Sesame. Sesame is an herb that is grown for its small seeds and its oil.
I used the buns with the sesame seeds on them.
Sip. To sip something means to drink a small amount at a time.
Liza relaxed on the beach sipping fruit juice through a straw.
Verge. The verge is the point at which something is about to happen.
Joan was on the verge of leaving her house when the phone rang.
Wary. If someone is wary, they are cautious or mistrusting.
She was wary of going to school because she hadn't done her homework.
Waver. To waver is to be unable to decide between two choices.
I wavered between eating the apple or the cake for a snack.
A bet. Russell finished running a relay and joined his friend Becky in the cafeteria. He asked, "What's for lunch?" "Sesame chicken. It's okay except the meat's charred. Oh, and watch out for the chili peppers," Becky said. "Chilies don't bother me," said Russell. "My stepmother says you should be careful with them," replied Becky. An argument ensued about eating chilies. "Chilies aren't so bad. I bet I can take more bites of this chili than you," Russell said. Becky was wary of eating the pepper. Despite her reluctance, she didn't want to say no to the bet. She wavered about whether to do it or not. She negotiated the details. "What will the winner get?" she asked. "The loser has to carry the winner's books for a year. I'll even let you go first," Becky replied. "Fine, but to clarify, you'll carry my books for the entire school year, right?" Russell restated the agreement. "That's right. I'll carry your books all year if you win," which you won't. His dogged persuasion convinced her. The chili looked benign, but Becky knew it could cause a lot of pain. She bit the bottom of the pepper. Surprisingly, she felt nothing. "My turn," said Russell. He bit the middle of the chili. Immediately, he seemed to be in distress. He gasped, and his face alternated between brave and pained expressions. He experienced an overdose of spice. He was on the verge of tears and finally let out a horrible cry. "Take this," said Becky, handing him her drink. "That was awful," he said, continuing to sip from the glass. That night, Becky researched chilies. The next day she said in an apologetic voice, "I read that the hot part of chilies is in the middle, where the seeds are. I'm sorry, I feel like I cheated by going first." Russell was relieved. Not only did he learn something new about chilies, but he learned that Becky was a good friend. Accelerate. To accelerate means to increase in speed.
When he stepped on the gas pedal, the motorcycle accelerated.
Anew. If you do something anew, you do it again and in a different way.
Though he had failed his driving test, he decided to try it anew.
Defect. A defect is a part of something that is wrong or missing.
All these bottles have a defect and must be sent back to the warehouse.
Dreary. If something is dreary, then it is dull, dark, and lifeless.
After the fire, this section of forest is rather dreary.
Duplicate. To duplicate something means to copy it.
She duplicated her friend's movements like she was in front of a mirror.
Electromagnetic. If something is electromagnetic, it is related to electricity and magnetic fields.
Different colors of light come from different levels of electromagnetic energy.
Electron. An electron is a particle in all atoms that has a negative electric charge.
The number of electrons in an atom determines the substance the atoms make.
Glide. To glide means to fly on extended wings with little or no effort.
When the wind is blowing, birds can glide easily through the sky.
Ingenious. If someone is ingenious, then they are very smart.
Charles was the only person ingenious enough to repair the plane's engines.
Innovation. An innovation is a product or idea that is new or very original.
Mrs. Johnson made a great innovation to the company's business plan.
Innovative. If something or someone is innovative, they can think in creative ways.
Since Peter was so innovative, he was chosen to lead the science team.
Launch. To launch something means to make it go into motion.
The boat launched from the dock and floated down the river.
Meteorological. If something is meteorological, it is concerned with the science of weather.
The thunderstorm was so large that it became a great meteorological event.
Meteorology. Meteorology is the science that studies the weather.
In order to understand the weather, you have to study meteorology.
Penetrate. To penetrate something means to enter into it.
The knife easily penetrated the surface of the orange.
Propulsion. Propulsion is the force that moves something forward.
The propulsion lifted the rocket into the sky.
Simulate. To simulate something means to copy its actions or characteristics.
The French language teacher could simulate the accent of a French citizen.
Spur. To spur someone means to urge them into action.
The coach's speech spurred her team into playing the best game of their lives.
Stimulate. To stimulate something means to cause or to increase activity in it.
Doctors sometimes use electric shock to stimulate a patient's heartbeat.
Tenacious. If someone is tenacious, then they do not easily give up.
I'm sure that he'll finish that difficult sale. He is very tenacious.
The Tenacious Inventor. A young student of meteorology was having a difficult time with an experiment. He was attempting to duplicate lightning in clouds. He had made a device that could simulate lightning. It worked by releasing an electromagnetic pulse into the cloud. This pulse, in turn, stimulated the electrons in the cloud's particles. Then the electrons produced lightning. But his meteorological experiment had a major defect. He couldn't get the device into the sky. He had tied it to balloons, but they had burst. He had shot the device from a cannon, but the force of the cannon had damaged it. "You should give up," his friends told him. "You'll never get that thing into the air." But his friends' criticisms only spurred him to try again. The student was very innovative, and at last he thought that he had an innovation that would work. He attached wings to the device, and on one dreary day, when clouds blocked the light of the sun, he started his experiment anew. He placed the device on a rocket and launched it into the sky. The propulsion of the rocket carried the device high into the air. The rocket accelerated into the clouds and then released the device. It glided on its wings through the clouds, and when it penetrated the center of a large black cloud, it emitted the electromagnetic pulse. And just as he had predicted, lightning shot from the cloud. He called his professors, and the next day they came to watch. He successfully duplicated the experiment. His teachers were extremely impressed and called the student and his invention ingenious. The student was given many awards and became a famous inventor. He had not given up. He had remained tenacious and succeeded. Adhesive. An adhesive is a substance used for sticking things together.
The carpenter used an adhesive to hold the two pieces of wood together.
Adverse. If something is adverse, then it is harmful.
Not eating healthy foods can have an adverse effect on your health.
Dependency. A dependency is a strong need for someone or something.
The child still has a dependency on her mother.
Dump. To dump something means to throw it away or get rid of it.
She dumped the garbage into the trash can.
Eternal. If something is eternal, then it lasts forever.
She said that her love for him was eternal.
Fluctuate. To fluctuate means to rise and fall in number or amount.
Prices for gasoline have been fluctuating all month.
Fro. If something moves to and fro, it moves backward and forward or side to side.
Her long hair went to and fro as she swung on the swing.
Inclusion. Inclusion is the act of including someone or something in a group.
Her inclusion into the photo club was well received.
Intermediate. If something is intermediate, then it is in the middle of two levels, places, or times.
He selected the intermediate ski hill to begin his afternoon of skiing.
Intermittent. If something is intermittent, then it happens in a way that is not constant.
It was hard to focus because intermittent noises came from the workers outside.
Mentor. A mentor is a person with experience or knowledge who advises someone.
The students each chose a mentor to help them with the experiment.
Phoenix. A phoenix is an imaginary bird that burns to ashes and is reborn.
Some believe the phoenix is a symbol for rebirth and a new beginning.
Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process in which plants change sunlight and air.
The chemical in plants that makes them green is used in photosynthesis.
Pollen. Pollen is the tiny yellow powder made in the flowers of plants.
During the spring, the pollen in the air makes some people become sick.
Regain. To regain something means to get it back.
The battery regained its power after being recharged.
Reverse. To reverse means to change to the opposite direction.
They reversed their direction after seeing the sign.
Swarm. A swarm is a group of flying insects.
A beautiful swarm of butterflies filled the summer sky.
Texture. Texture is the quality of something that can be known by its touch.
The texture of her skin was very soft and smooth.
Tickle. To tickle someone is to touch them in a way that causes laughter.
The mother tickled the little boy's foot, and he screamed with laughter.
Vibrant. If something is vibrant, then it is bright and full of color.
Their new shirts were a vibrant shade of red. The greedy bee. A young bee had passed his intermediate level exams. He now knew everything about flowers. He understood how they used photosynthesis to make oxygen and which ones produced the best pollen. Bees had an important dependency on pollen. From the beginning of time, bees' eternal task was to gather pollen and make honey with it. Since he passed his exams, the little bee had earned his inclusion in the swarms that gathered pollen. He was excited because he was finally allowed to leave the hive. He left with the next swarm and was determined to find the perfect flower. Soon he saw a large, vibrant flower full of pollen. He landed on a petal and walked toward the pollen at the flower's center. Immediately he began rolling in the pollen, gathering it on his legs and wings. The fine texture of the pollen tickled when it stuck to his body. It was the best experience the little bee had ever had. He gathered as much as he could. But when he was flying back home, he realized that all the pollen had an adverse effect. He had no control over his flight. The intermittent wind fluctuated in power. He was blown to and fro. 1 minute he was flying straight, and the next minute the wind had reversed his course. He tried to dump some of the pollen, but it acted as an adhesive. He couldn't get it off. He became tired and fell to the ground. "What am I going to do now?" he thought. Just then his mentor landed next to him and began cleaning the excess pollen off the little bee. "You shouldn't have taken so much," his mentor said. Finally, with the pollen off of him, the bee easily regained his strength, and like a phoenix, the young bee flew back into the air. When he returned to the hive, he turned to his mentor and said, "I learned an important lesson today. I will never be greedy again."
Analogy. An analogy is a connection made between things to show that they are similar.
The doctor made an analogy between the human heart and a water pump.
Ancestry. A person's ancestry is the series of people from whom a person descended.
We studied our ancestry and found out that we are related to royalty.
Archer. An archer is a person who uses a bow and arrows.
The expert archer hit the target every time.
Conspiracy. A conspiracy is a secret plan made by a group of people to do something illegal.
Some people think that there was a conspiracy to kill American President John Kennedy.
Deputy. A deputy is the second highest ranking person in a business or government.
While the sheriff was ill, the deputy took over his duties.
Earl. An earl is a nobleman from Britain.
The Earl of Canterbury lived in a huge mansion.
Fragrant. When something is fragrant, it has a pleasant smell.
The girl picked delicious berries and fragrant flowers.
Funnel. A funnel is an object with a wide top and a narrow bottom for pouring liquids.
The worker used a funnel when he poured the oil into the engine.
Hereditary. If something is hereditary, it is a trait passed on to children from their parents.
The hereditary disease affected 3 generations of children.
Hymn. A hymn is a religious song that often praises a god.
The book was filled with hymns that the worshippers sang.
Invert. To invert something means to turn it upside down.
He inverted the bicycle to make repairs on the wheels.
Prey. Prey is the animals that are hunted and eaten by another creature.
The lion ran as fast as he could to catch his prey.
Procession. A procession is a group of people who walk or drive in a line during a public event.
The procession all celebrated when they reached the end.
Prophet. A prophet is a person chosen by a god to give the god's message to people.
Harold believed that he was one of the prophets of his god.
Sarcastic. When something is sarcastic, it is the opposite of what is actually meant.
She hurt her mother's feelings with her constant sarcastic remarks.
Seasoning. Seasoning is a mix of salt, herbs, and spices that improves the taste of food.
This steak tastes bland. Maybe I'll add some seasoning to it.
Sodium. Sodium is an element that can be used to make substances such as salt.
Sodium and chloride combine to make table salt.
Tyranny. A tyranny is a cruel and unfair government in which one person has power.
His tyranny was impossible to live under.
Tyrant. A tyrant is someone who treats people in a cruel, harsh, and unfair way.
Our boss is a tyrant. He makes us work long hours for little pay.
Vinegar. Vinegar is a strong liquid made from sour wine that is used in cooking.
Be careful because too much vinegar will ruin the recipe.
The Earl of Shining. In the village of Hampton, there was an old soldier named Michael, but he was known to the world as the Earl of Shining. Michael was once an expert archer and a great fighter. In fact, his skills seemed to be hereditary. All the people in his ancestry were famous warriors. However, he was getting old and no longer wished to fight. One day, he was in the forest hunting prey when he saw a beautiful prophet singing a hymn. She said, "Michael, an evil army is involved in a conspiracy to take over Hampton. You're the only one who can defeat them and stop the tyranny. The village needs you." Michael replied, "But I'm too old to fight. I'm not confident that I can do it." The prophet said, "You must try. I will even make a potion to increase your strength." The prophet took out a bottle and a funnel. She poured some vinegar and garlic into the bottle. Next, she added some seasoning and sodium and shook it up. Michael smelled the potion. "Wow, this is fragrant," he said in a sarcastic tone. He inverted the bottle and drank the whole potion. He immediately felt stronger. "I'll try my best," he promised. Michael rode his horse to a hilltop where he could see the village of Hampton below. He saw the evil tyrant and his men marching in a procession through the town. Michael charged down the hill and into the village. An enemy deputy officer shouted, "He looks as strong as an ox." It was an apt analogy. Michael grabbed the officer and threw him across the street with one arm. The rest of the officers screamed and rode away, and their army followed. The prophet reappeared. Michael said, "It's a good thing you gave me the potion." She replied, "But Michael, the potion was fake. Your strength really came from having confidence." Michael realized he really was still great. He just needed to believe in himself. Amber. Amber is a hard, yellowish material that comes from trees.
The necklace was made from pieces of amber.
Charcoal. Charcoal is a black material that is used as fuel for fire.
There was burnt charcoal left on the ground from an old fire.
Columnist. A columnist is a writer who creates articles about a particular subject.
The columnist won praise for his articles about life on the farm.
Courteous. When someone is courteous, they are polite and respectful.
The mother asked her family to be courteous to their guests.
Credentials. Credentials are the proof of someone's experience or ability to do something.
The mechanic hung his credentials on his office wall.
Cricket. A cricket is an insect that makes loud noises, usually at night.
In the country, we could see the stars and hear the crickets at night.
Delta. A delta is a flat area where a river splits into smaller rivers that flow into the sea.
The archaeologists found many ancient materials in the delta of the Nile River.
Detergent. Detergent is soap that is used to clean clothes or dishes.
My brother added too much detergent to the wash and bubbles got all over the floor.
Euphemism. A euphemism is a term that is used in place of a mean or unpleasant word.
Window maintenance officer is a euphemism for a window washer.
Expire. To expire is to no longer be effective because its use has come to an end.
The man's driver's license was going to expire in 2 days.
Granite. Granite is a very hard type of rock that is often black or pink.
The kitchen counter was made of granite.
Gravel. Gravel is a combination of small stones mixed with sand.
The ground around the swing set was covered with gravel.
Haunt. To haunt is to cause problems or negative thoughts over a long period of time.
His thoughts about his scary dream haunted him for weeks.
Liberal. When someone is liberal, they accept different ideas and people.
My grandparents aren't as liberal as my parents.
Maze. A maze is a system of paths that is complicated and easy to get lost in.
We got lost in the maze in the garden.
Moss. Moss is a small green or yellow plant that grows on wet dirt, rocks, or tree trunks.
Be careful not to slip on the moss that's covering those rocks.
Pebble. A pebble is a small round stone.
We threw pebbles into the lake to make the water splash.
Peck. When a bird pecks, it bites or hits something with its beak.
The birds pecked at the seeds on the ground.
Reservoir. A reservoir is a place for storing water for a town to use.
If it doesn't rain soon, the reservoir is going to dry up completely.
Streak. A streak is a long, thin mark that is easy to see.
Her hair was brown except for a streak which she dyed blonde. The Mad Hatter. One morning, Lucas sat outside with his grandfather. They looked past the gravel road that led to a natural reservoir on the delta. On the other side of the water, there was a cottage. "Does a ghost live there?" Lucas asked. "No, a Mad Hatter lives there," said his grandfather. Lucas didn't know what a Mad Hatter was, but the image of a scary man haunted him. Later, Lucas went for a walk in the forest. He collected pieces of amber and granite that he found on the ground. He looked at the moss on the trees and watched a bird peck at the ground. But the forest was like a maze. Soon, Lucas was lost. Lucas heard somebody behind him. He wanted to run away, but he fell. He had a streak of blood on his shirt and some pebbles stuck in his skin. Then a man appeared. "I will take you home. First, let's get you cleaned up," he said. Lucas followed him. When they arrived at the cottage, he realized the man was the Mad Hatter. He sat down inside. It smelled like charcoal, but it looked like a normal house. The man brought Lucas back some medicine. "It's a bit old, but it's not expired," the man said. While Lucas cleaned his cut, the man washed the blood out of his shirt with detergent. Lucas asked, "Are you a Mad Hatter?" The man laughed and replied, "That's a euphemism for a crazy person. Actually, I'm pretty normal. I'm a columnist for a newspaper," said the man. He pointed to his credentials, which hung on the wall. Lucas could hear the crickets outside. It was getting dark, so he asked, "Could you take me home now?" The man said yes. Lucas was surprised that people thought the man was crazy. He was actually very courteous. Maybe Lucas should have a more liberal attitude. Next time, Lucas wouldn't make judgments about people without getting to know them first.
Friendly is behaving in a pleasant, kind way toward someone.
The friendly animals came up to the girl.
Universe. The universe is the known or supposed objects in space.
The universe is so large that it cannot be measured.
Success. Success is doing something well that you choose to do.
My daughter was a big success at school.
Frank. If you are frank, you are being very honest.
The teacher had a frank discussion with her students.
Thin. If someone or something is thin, they are not fat.
The man was thin because he didn't eat much.
Extreme. If something is extreme, it is in a large amount or degree.
His workout was so extreme that he was sweating heavily.
Determine. To determine means to choose or make a decision.
He tried to determine which one to eat first.
Fit. If something fits, it is small enough or the right size to go there.
The colorful eggs fit into the box.
Probable. If something is probable, it is likely to happen.
It is probable that you will get a good grade if you study for the test.
False. If something is false, it is not correct.
If you think the answer is false, press the red button.
Scan. To scan something is to look at it very carefully.
You must scan each person closely.
Section. A section is a part of something larger.
The green section of the graph is the most important part.
Marathon. A marathon is a very long foot race, just over 42 kilometers.
I ran a marathon and now my legs are tired.
Dictate. To dictate something is to read it aloud so it can be written down.
He dictated his speech so his secretary could write it down.
Hike. To hike means to walk in the mountains or forest.
I always bring plenty of equipment with me when I hike.
Elevate. To elevate something is to put it at a higher level.
The man elevated the picture so he could see it better.
Nutrient. A nutrient is something that a living thing needs to keep it alive.
Vegetables are full of important nutrients.
Cardinal. If a rule or quality is cardinal, then it is the most important one.
Raising your hand in the classroom before you speak is a cardinal rule.
Formula. A formula is a set mathematical way or method of solving a problem.
I learned a new formula that may help us with our problem.
Disgrace. Disgrace is a feeling of shame.
He felt a sense of disgrace after failing his big exam.
Ail. To ail a person or group is to cause difficulty or pain.
My brother went to the doctor to see what was ailing him.
Aborigine. An aborigine is a native of Australia before Europeans lived there.
The Aborigines created beautiful artwork.
Ban. To ban something is to not let people do it.
Smoking is banned in this building.
Update. An update is an act of making something more modern.
I'm doing an update on my personal phone directory.
Ragged. If something is ragged, then it is old, torn, and falling apart.
They could see his toes through the holes in his ragged shoes.
Assert. To assert a fact or belief means to state it with confidence.
He asserted that his mother's cooking was better than his best friend's.
Calculus. Calculus is an advanced type of mathematics.
By using calculus, scientists determine small changes in the star's brightness.
Celestial. If something is celestial, it is related to the sky or to outer space.
Comets are celestial objects that are rarely seen.
Harness. To harness something means to control and use it, usually to make energy.
The sails harness the wind in order to move.
Mythology. Mythology is a group of stories from a particular country or region.
Egyptian mythology was the basis for a religion.
Physiology. Physiology is the study of the various parts of living things.
His work in physiology helped him understand how the human body works.
Pharmaceutical. If something is pharmaceutical, then it is related to the development of drugs.
Pharmaceutical companies discover new cures to illnesses all the time.
Altitude. The altitude of a place is its height above sea level.
The air was thin at such a high altitude on the mountain.
Migraine. A migraine is a painful headache that makes one feel sick.
My sister gets a migraine every time she has a lot of stress.
Peculiar. When something is peculiar, it is strange, sometimes in a bad way.
That peculiar smell coming from the kitchen reminds me of rotten eggs.
Quest. A quest is a long and difficult search for something.
The treasure hunter went on a quest to find an ancient gold necklace.
Adept. If someone is adept at something, they are very good at doing it.
The carpenter is very adept at building houses.
Barren. If land is barren, it has no plants growing on it.
People cannot farm in barren lands.
Ceramic. If something is ceramic, it is made of baked clay.
The house's roof was made of ceramic tiles.
Culinary. If something is culinary, it is related to cooking.
I gained culinary skills after working in a restaurant for many years.
Edible. If something is edible, you can eat it.
We learn about edible plants when we go camping.
Malnutrition. Malnutrition is the condition of not getting enough nutrients.
After eating only a meager amount of food, she suffered from malnutrition.
Misconception. A misconception is a wrong idea about something.
People once believed the misconception that the earth is flat.
Respirator. A respirator is a machine that helps weak or sick people breathe.
The man needed a respirator to breathe.
Strive. To strive is to struggle to achieve something.
People who strive to succeed often do.
Benevolent. If someone is benevolent, they are kind and generous.
My father was a benevolent man and gave lots of money to charity.
Fad. A fad is something that is popular for a short time.
The hula hoop was a fad for a few years, but it soon lost its popularity.
Exquisite. When something is exquisite, it is very beautiful or pleasant.
The artist made exquisite watercolor paintings.
Soy. Soy is a food made from soybeans, such as flour or butter.
Soy can be made into tofu, sauce, and also milk.
Banquet. A banquet is a grand formal dinner.
Both families brought a lot of food for the wedding banquet.
Outdated. When something is outdated, it is old and no longer useful in modern time.
Tape players are becoming outdated because of digital music.
Brook. A brook is a small stream.
Water flows down several brooks on the mountain.
Degrade. To degrade someone means to cause people to have shame.
The teacher degraded Bob when she announced his poor performance to the class.
Braille. Braille is a system of raised patterns on paper that allows the blind to read.
The boy enjoyed reading his favorite books written in Braille.
Imprint. An imprint is an effect or lesson from an experience that is hard to forget.
The experience of war left an imprint on his mind that troubled him.
Revere. To revere something is to admire it greatly.
The students revere their teacher who has taught them a lot.
Simultaneous. When something is simultaneous, it occurs at the same time as something else.
The movement of the gears inside the watch was simultaneous.
Knit. To knit is to make fabric by connecting strings together.
My grandmother knitted me a sweater.
Buoy. A buoy is a floating sign that warns boats of dangerous areas.
Don't steer the boat near those buoys. There are rocks underneath the water.
Catastrophe. A catastrophe is an unexpected event that causes great suffering or damage.
It was a catastrophe for my family when my dad lost his job.
Fore. The fore of something is the front part of it.
The teacher's desk is at the fore of the classroom.
Intricate. When something is intricate, it has many small parts or details.
The intricate painting on the quilt was very lovely.
Precipitate. To precipitate an event means to cause it to happen sooner than normal.
The violent attack precipitated an all-out war.
Submerge. To submerge something means to put it below the surface of a liquid.
The whale submerged its huge body into the ocean.
Astounded. If you are astounded, you are very surprised.
I was astounded that Monica won the art competition.
Clone. A clone is an identical copy of a living creature.
Scientists recently made a clone of a sheep.
Colloquial. Colloquial describes informal words that are more suitable for speech than writing.
I find it difficult to understand people if they use colloquial language.
Cosmetics. Cosmetics are substances that make the face and skin more beautiful.
Girls often look nicer when they don't use so many cosmetics.
Fluorescent. If something is fluorescent, it is such a bright color that it seems to give off light.
She highlighted the key words in the document with a fluorescent yellow pen.
Furious. If you are furious, you are extremely angry.
My father was furious when he read my bad school report.
Humanities. Humanities are subjects which analyze human ideas, such as history and literature.
Jennifer has always been more interested in humanities than science.
Knot. A knot is made when you tie the ends of rope or cord together.
He tied a knot in his shoelaces so they wouldn't come off during the race.
Linguist. A linguist is someone who studies languages.
Tony is a good linguist and speaks 4 different languages.
Plausible. If something is plausible, it is reasonable or possible.
It is plausible that Jack isn't here today because he is sick.
Sibling. A sibling is a brother or sister.
Jane has 2 siblings, an older brother and a younger sister.
Skinny. If someone is skinny, they are extremely thin.
Polly is very skinny. I think she needs to eat more.
Prone. When things are prone to some bad thing, they are likely affected by it.
Some people are more prone to catching colds than others.
Astronomical. If something is astronomical, then it is extremely large.
It's an astronomical distance between the Milky Way galaxy and the nearest galaxy.
Circumference. A circumference is the distance completely around a circular object.
The circumference of the Earth is obviously much larger than a baseball's.
Crater. A crater is a large hole in a planet's or moon's surface.
They could clearly see the big crater on the moon through the telescope.
Crescent. A crescent is the curved shape lit on the moon's face during its early and late stages.
10 days ago, the entire moon was bright, but now only a small crescent is shining.
Debris. Debris is the small pieces scattered from something wrecked or destroyed.
The debris from the cube scattered on the floor.
Embed. To embed something means to place it firmly within a surrounding thing.
The logger embedded the axe into the wood after chopping several logs.
Gigantic. If something is gigantic, then it is extremely large.
Some dinosaurs were so gigantic that they were the size of buildings.
Trendy. If something is trendy, then it is very popular and new.
Carlo bought a trendy new car.
Revive. To revive someone or something means to restore health or life to them.
She revived the feeling of warmth in her leg by rubbing it softly.
Crook. A crook is someone who is not honest or who commits crimes.
The manager was arrested by the police for being a crook.
Enigma. An enigma is someone or something that is mysterious or hard to understand.
The theft of the paintings is an enigma to the investigators.
Hybrid. A hybrid is a mixture of different things or styles.
In Greek mythology, a centaur is a hybrid of a man and a horse.
Reunion. A reunion is the meeting of people or things that have been separated.
Every summer we have a family reunion at the lake.
Rig. To rig something means to dishonestly arrange it.
The bad politician rigged the election so that he would win.
Tow. To tow something is to pull it.
The truck was towing a trailer behind it.
Tramp. To tramp is to put your feet down in a loud, heavy way as you walk.
The baby tramped across the floor as he was learning to walk.
Alleviate. To alleviate pain or suffering means to make it less intense or severe.
She needed something to alleviate the pain in her back.
Hull. The hull of a boat or tank is the main body of it.
After the wreck at sea, the ship's hull was the last part to sink.
Volatile. When something is volatile, it is likely to change suddenly and unexpectedly.
The volatile volcano might explode at any moment.
Arduous. When something is arduous, it demands great effort or labor.
The explorers began their arduous hike up the steep mountain.
Terrestrial. If something is terrestrial, it relates to Earth.
There are billions of terrestrial life forms.
Anemia. Anemia is a blood condition that causes a person to be pale and tired.
When she first developed anemia, she became tired often.
Hallmark. A hallmark is a unique characteristic of something.
Different types of pasta and tomato sauces are hallmarks of Italian food.
Rouge. Rouge is a red powder or cream used as makeup on the cheeks or lips.
Even when she didn't wear rouge, her cheeks appeared red.
Vie. To vie for something means to compete against others for it.
The three boys vied for the prize in the chemistry contest.
Vulgar. If something or someone is vulgar, then they are rude or lacking in style.
Her vulgar behavior got her into trouble with her parents.
Pungent. If something is pungent, then it tastes or smells strong and sharp.
The garlic made the soup taste so pungent that the chef wouldn't serve it.
Elude. To elude means to avoid being caught by something.
The rabbit eluded the wolf by hiding in a bush.
Fend. To fend off something means to push it away and avoid it.
Dave spent all night fending off bugs instead of sleeping.
Fictitious. When something is fictitious, it is made up and not real.
The author said that the characters in her book were completely fictitious.
Sparse. If something is sparse, there is not very much of it in a big area.
Rob spent Saturday in his garden, clearing out the sparse weeds.
Decipher. To decipher writing is to figure out what it says.
My teacher complained that she couldn't decipher my essay.
Mash. To mash something is to crush it so that it is soft.
We mashed the hard potatoes and served them for dinner.
Ornate. If something is ornate, it is decorated with a lot of fancy things.
Kim's prom dress was very expensive since it was so ornate.
Therapeutic. If something is therapeutic, it helps to cure a disease or makes you healthier.
After a stressful day of working, Phoebe would take a therapeutic bath.
Forage. To forage means to look around for food.
Many animals hide food in the fall since little can be foraged in winter.
Impede. To impede something means to keep it from moving or going forward.
The barrier impeded our ability to get closer to the building.
Respiration. Respiration is the act of breathing.
Artificial respiration is the best thing to do if someone stops breathing.
Convection. Convection is the flow of hot air through gas or liquid.
The weather changed because of convection in the atmosphere.
Euphoria. Euphoria is a feeling of extreme happiness.
The athlete felt euphoria after he won the important game.
Jolly. When someone is jolly, they are cheerful and happy.
My grandmother's jolly attitude always made me smile.
Sage. A sage is someone who is very wise.
Hal always visited the local sage for help with love.
Sentiment. A sentiment is an opinion based on your feelings.
Tess told everyone at the table her sentiments about eating meat.
Adorn. To adorn something means to make it more beautiful by decorating it.
Small glass beads adorned the vase.
Counteract. To counteract something means to act against it in order to reduce or stop it.
Medicine is supposed to counteract illnesses.
Intolerable. If something is intolerable, then it is so bad that people cannot bear it.
The weather was so intolerable that I had to put on my warmest clothes.
Rash. A rash is an infected area of the skin with redness, bumps, itching, or dryness.
The new perfume left a horrible rash on my skin.
Marrow. Marrow is the soft substance in the center of bones.
Dissolved marrow is a common ingredient in soups.
Quiver. To quiver means to tremble or shake.
The flame on the candle quivered whenever someone opened or closed a door.
Paramount. When something is paramount, it is more important than anything else.
The safety of passengers must be paramount when designing a car.
Cove. A cove is a part of land where it curves inward around the sea.
They hid the boat in a small cove on the south side of the island.
Freeway. A freeway is a road with no stops where cars travel at high speeds.
Once you get on the freeway, it only takes an hour to drive to my parents' farm.
Vivacious. If someone is vivacious, they are talkative and cheerful.
Everyone at the party was very vivacious and having a good time.
Constellation. A constellation is a group of stars with a recognizable shape.
That constellation in the shape of a square is named after a flying horse.
Pertain. To pertain to something means to be related or connected to it.
All of the lawyer's questions pertain to events around the night of the crime.
Primal. If something is primal, then it is very basic or related to the origin of something.
Cooking the food over the campfire felt like a primal way of making a meal.
Blizzard. A blizzard is a severe snowstorm with strong winds.
We did not dare to go outside during the terrible blizzard.
Frigid. When something is frigid, it is extremely cold.
We decided not to go on the hike because the weather was too frigid.
Glacial. When something is glacial, it relates to large masses of ice that move slowly.
Penguins thrive in the glacial regions of Antarctica.
Locker. A locker is a small cabinet with a lock where people store their possessions.
I keep my school books in my locker.
Replicate. To replicate something is to do it in the exact same way as someone before.
I would love to replicate my father's achievements in school.
Abide. To abide by something, like a rule, means to obey it.
If you want to play the game with us, you must be willing to abide by our rules.
Prototype. A prototype is a new machine that is not ready to be made in large quantities.
He introduced his prototype to the motorcycle company.
Judicial. If something is judicial, it is related to judges or courts of law.
The laws changed the way the judicial system was structured.
Staple. If something is staple, it is standard or basic.
Hamburgers, steaks, and hot dogs are staple foods to cook on a grill.
Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit temperature is a scale where water freezes at 32 degrees and boils at 212 degrees.
When the temperature dropped at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it started snowing.